You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this toke. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace Re-Rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning.
We're still in entertainment. Bring it on.
I've got a dewdrop to test.
Yes.
To test out today.
You showed that to us, but how does it work?
Dave.
Dave, and I'm gonna mess up pronouncing his last name.
Pereira.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or Electric Dave on Instagram.
Yeah, and he's also the maker of the Happle.
Correct. And I've got that.
So
right
it's
here.
it's not Electric Dave though.
No, it's electric.
Electric. Electric.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
When you're looking for him.
ERRLECTRIC.
Electric.
So there you go. This is his dewdrop.
Hold on now. Here, hold on. There you go.
This is the dewdrop. As you can see, it's nice and clean, and it's nice and clean because I have not used it yet.
Okay.
On the top of the stem, this is the piece where your hash will stick to.
Mm-hmm.
You light your hash, you stick it in here, and
in the water.
Yeah, I've put
hash goes in the water.
Yeah, no, there's a glass enclosure.
Oh, okay, I see.
All right, and then
here, let's make you bigger.
Nice.
Oh,
wrong one.
Oh, it's not going bigger than that. No. Okay, just go ahead, Al.
Okay, it's probably So there you go. It's hand blown. Dave does them all. And we've seen Dave at many events. Yeah. And so
he's very well known in the community.
Correct.
And an amazing blower.
I've got some hash here. Now, what I have found, some hash will work really well, and some hash will melt.
Uh-oh.
And when it melts, it makes it a little harder for it to burn because it's melting.
So because it's also dripping.
Correct. Exactly. So I got leaves falling on me.
Yeah, you know what? It's really weird here. It was green up until about 3 days ago, and now everything's starting to turn.
Yeah. So I've got some hash burning here.
Do you find you waste a lot with these toys?
No. Yeah, just gotta make sure it's burning. It's not burning. Come on, hash. I should have maybe put some on here previously. Tested it out. But then I would have smoked it all. Yeah, I got her going.
I haven't had any hash in a while.
So I put it inside there. You can see it filling up with smoke. You just see it doing its thing. It sort of looks like our background.
Yeah.
Nice and smooth. Oh,
Wow,
yes.
nice.
Yes. I like this.
And you could flavor the water as well, eh?
Yeah, I imagine you could. Yeah.
Put a couple of droppings of some terpenes or something in there.
And it's very, very nice. Dave says it's got a new reinforced stem on it here. And I'll tell you, this lid, it's just glass on glass. I have to tilt that to clear the chamber. It seals that well. Yeah, it's got the little bubbler in the bottom. Pork holes. The handle for this has got some ridges on it, so it's not a completely smooth surface, so it's good to grip onto. And you know, the thing about smoking hash too is it goes forever.
And what's the price range on those? You could have just said you don't know. Al.
I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Now I can tell you, the apple that I've got, the apple here.
Yeah.
I purchased it at Spirit Leaf in Campbellford, and it's a smaller version. I gotta clean it. This was $55, but it depends on the store, right?
Yes.
But if anybody's interested in one of these,
you can buy direct from Dave.
Correct. Yeah. Check your store, your local store, if you see if they've got one. Oh, stuff.
I was checking out another store. It says it's $55 too.
Pardon me?
I was just checking out a couple other stores. They're $55 too.
$55.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's coined one of the best hash pipes in Canada.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
no wonder Nugs was like, we want to brand it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you got a little cough on me, but
yeah, but that's a concentrate for me.
That's right. Exactly.
Any concentrate can make
nice,
a hack.
Nice, and it pulls nicely. It's easy to hold on to. And then it'll be easy to clean. Just like the apple will be easy to clean as well.
I put my student glass, I take it apart and put it in the dishwasher on the top.
Well, there you go. I don't know if I'd put that in the dishwasher, but
yeah, it might be a little too thin.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. So you can check out Dave's Instagram at Electric Dave, ERRLECTERIC Dave. Should have probably pulled him up on Instagram. And here is his page right here. There we go. Electric Dave. Some of his posts of his stuff. Oh, look at that. He's put an e-nail on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, I was wondering if the top had a different feature because it looks
different. That is cool. And I might be able to do that. I might be able to do that.
You know what? I enjoy I use the student glass more as a bong than I don't even have water in it at the moment.
But no, you just use it dry.
Just use it dry with the module as my vaporizer, and throw some shatter in there or some diamonds. I've got one scoop of diamonds left. Yeah,
right.
It's my movie watching bong. I don't own a bong. That's the only thing. I use my shatterizer and my student glass.
Here it is with a banger on it. Is that a banger on the front of it there?
Yeah, that's. I was wondering because the way the thing, it just looks different.
Yeah.
Here, let's make it big, Al. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
That's cool.
Funny. I've got like 6 bongs and I don't use any of them. Oh, 7, 8. 8 bongs.
Now he's got.
I've got a glass one, a raw one up there on the shelf, but I don't use it.
See, he's got a bowl on it.
Yeah,
there.
he basically made it like it's in everything.
Yeah,
it's gonna smoke everything. Flour, concentrates.
Yeah, you can see he's changing it out, eh?
Yeah.
The drop.
You're a genius.
Yeah, he did.
Fucking brilliant. I wondered because as soon as I seen that, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I've seen the hash kettle for years, but you look at the hash kettle prices, holy fucking shit. You could buy like 6 or 7 of the Happles.
Yeah.
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 Why would you buy that other thing?
Steven, fuck off.
There he is. Okay, yeah.
That's the e-nail.
With the e-nail on it. Yep,
Oh.
carb. Nice. Nice job, Dave.
Just beauty.
Yeah.
Very
Check out his Instagram. Check out his products. No doubt about that. It looks like it's multifunctional.
So the dewdrop.
Yeah.
Dewdrop.
Yeah.
How many dews does a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop could drop dew?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Dave.
You should post that in our chat. Post a link to his Instagram in the chat here in the comments.
Yeah, but I think. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, how much dew would a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop could drop dew?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just repeat to see if I could say.
How much hash could a Apple hash if a Apple hash could Apple hash?
If a hash could Apple, or if a Apple could hash?
Sound drunk. Yeah.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning. It's November the 7th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net. Cindy is just getting back from BC, so she'll return next week, and I'm sure Glenn will as well. So, yes, I'm alone today, as I have been for the last few broadcasts while they have been busy. But, hey, the show still has to go on, right? So we keep the information going, and people... Just my cat's here. People will be more informed. Just so you know, if I have to, as I usually do, run off and let one of the animals out, I will just put on a short little video so that you're not sitting here staring at an empty screen while my animals are tearing my door apart. So, all right. Other than that, I will get right on to the news. First story of the day. What another Trump presidency means for weed. And this comes to greenstate.com. As we all know, it was the federal presidential elections this past week. in the United States, and they have a new president-elect, and that is former President Trump. He is now President-elect Trump, and so let's find out what he's going to do on the cannabis front, as well as we're going to find out after this story what some of the other states did with their votes, because some of the states did vote on legalization, so we're going to deal with that too. So here we go. Story starts off letting us know that former President Donald Trump, preparing to win, which he has won, the 2024 presidential contest, Americans is left wondering what's next. It says both candidates expressed support for some type of federal reform when it comes to cannabis, and they were mirroring the growing societal shift, accepting cannabis as a mainstream. But now that Trump has been declared the winner, many want to know what that means for the future of cannabis. During his initial tenure, President Trump failed to engage meaningful change, and his attorney general rescinded protections for state legal cannabis operators. However, the tide has apparently turned. Trump expressed support for the rescheduling of cannabis on the campaign trail, a process his predecessor's administration initiated in 2022. He also stated that states should be able to decide whether to legalize, and he reportedly voted in favor of the reform in his home state of Florida. Now, Tyler Blurin, chief strategic business operator at the cannabis banking firm Safe Harbor Financial, believes the former president will stay the course when he returns to the White House. He says that the Trump administration will likely place greater emphasis on state autonomy and deregulatory measures, potentially reinforcing a state-led approach to cannabis policy. Now, he's also expressed concern that Trump's policy may not go far enough and that the cannabis space will continue to face challenges. He says that while this perspective could allow individual states to set their own cannabis agendas without heavy federal intervention, significant barriers remain for the industry, particularly concerning access to banking service and interstate commerce. He added, and he says that bipartisan congressional support will be essential for enacting measures like the Safe Banking Act. Now, even if cannabis is left to states to regulate, reclassifying cannabis could lead to changes for the industry, mostly in the form of tax breaks and the lifting of other business-related restrictions. However, a decision on federal rescheduling could still be months away, and scheduled testimony from experts on both sides of the debate was pushed back to early 2025, if federal officials will need plenty of time to consider the arguments. It's important to note that rescheduling is not the same as full legalization. It would likely just make doing business in the sector easier. However, the pro-cannabis advocates hope the ball will continue moving forward in order to help boost the industry and increase. A Trump win likely won't lead to the type of reform many in the cannabis community were hoping for. However, given the incredible popularity of the plant, it's possible change could be ahead. GOP control the White House, Senate, and possibly the House may lead to skepticism, but more Republicans than ever support legalization. But now it's back to the wait and see status quo. Completely agree. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. I know what he's done in the past, as was mentioned in the article there. The problem I have personally with state to state deciding instead of it being done federally is the fact that some states will have legalization, stores will be operating, and other states will be punishing people for doing the same thing. How is that fair? What stops the state from putting in penalties? Well, let's look at, I always like to remind people about Singapore. In Singapore, when you leave Singapore, if you go to some other place and you consume cannabis and you come back and they can test you for the cannabis and they find out that you've consumed cannabis, minimum time in jail is 1 year. What prevents the state from doing that? I don't know. Maybe they have to go all the way to the Supreme Court, but I think that's a very risky move to do it statewide. So I know states are voting to legalize it right now, and maybe he'll just let that go. But as I mentioned, he did cancel the Cole memo that allowed states to do that, to go ahead. They were told, we're not going to enforce that, but we haven't changed the law. Now that's gone. So we'll just see what happens. Cross your fingers for all those cannabis advocates out there that things improve instead of going behind. But time will tell. That's all I can say is time will tell. So the next story I've got here, as we know, other places, other states voted on cannabis legalization to see to give their citizens the option. So what I'm going to do is I've got a story here from the Marijuana Moment. Instead of going through each state, they basically have a rundown here on letting how things made out in the different places. And here we go. Start off with voters in Florida. Voters there rejected a ballot measure to legalize cannabis. It got the majority support, though, but it didn't reach the 60% threshold needed to be enacted under the state law. So a majority of the people, I think it worked out to 56 or 57% of the people wanted cannabis legalization in Florida. But because the threshold was set so high, even though the majority of the people wanted it, they don't get it. In North Dakota, voters defeated a cannabis legalization ballot measure 2 years after also rejecting a prior initiative to legalize cannabis. South Dakota voters rejected cannabis legalization ballot measures. An earlier initiative they approved in 2020 was overturned by the state Supreme Court, so they had to do it again. Nebraska voters approved 2 medical cannabis legalization initiatives on the ballot, but the results of the election could potentially be overturned due to the ongoing legal challenges. Massachusetts voters, and there's going to be more on this, I believe, coming up, rejected a psychedelics legalization ballot initiative that would have allowed adults to possess, grow, and share certain amounts of substances such as psilocybin, ibogaine, and DMT. Oregon voters approved, finally got an approved here, a ballot measure to require cannabis businesses to enter into a labor peace agreements. Texas voters in Dallas, Bastrop, and Lockhart approved cannabis decriminalization measures on their local ballots. So when you go through those individuals, there wasn't a lot of success when it came to cannabis legalization in this round. A lot of them obviously got turned down. So what happened with all that? How did the markets and the cannabis markets react to all of that? And I think I've got the headline right here. It comes to the Marijuana Moment, and it says, "Marijuana stocks tank after election day results." There you go. Gives you a bit of an idea there. Cannabis stocks were reeling Wednesday on the heels of an adult use legalization failures on election day in Florida, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and the grim prospects of national MJ reform under a second Donald Trump presidency. The American Cannabis Operator Index, which includes 9 U.S. publicly traded cultivators, processors, retailers, and brands, was down nearly 27% in the afternoon trading. And seizing on the ballot rejections, particularly in the big loss in Florida, as well as new Republican control of the Senate, the presidency in January, investors sent cannabis stocks tumbling. And the biggest losses in the U.S. stock exchanges was Ayr Wellness, Trulieve Cannabis Corporation, and Curaleaf Holdings. Verano Holdings, which trades as Verno on the Canadian exchange, was down 26.5%. Conversely, traditional U.S. stock exchanges showed modest trading gains on news of Trump's re-election, which bond yields increasingly, along with the value of the U.S. dollar. And it goes on about the SP increased a little bit, and that somebody else went up a little bit too, which were already high as it was. So cannabis stocks. If you've invested in cannabis stocks, it looks like if you cash them in, you're going to lose some money. So don't want to be doing that. Now, on to the last story before I go to break. Yeah, I'm just, as always, just flying through these. Okay, here we go. This one is coming to us from Massachusetts. As I said, there'll be more on that vote that happened there. And here we go. Massachusetts voters ditch psychedelics ballot measure. That's what the headline says. Organizers tried to follow Colorado and Oregon's footsteps, but to no avail, because the voters on Tuesday rejected the ballot measure that would have legalized the selection of naturally derived psychedelic substances to treat mental health disorders. The measures failed Tuesday, with 56.9% opposed and 43% in favor, with more than 90% of the votes counted according to the latest state election data. Question 4 would have created a regulated therapeutic framework overseen by a 5-member commission and 20-member advisory board. Treatment centers would have faced state sales tax plus a 15% excise tax, with municipalities allowed to add up to 2% more. Hiccups, sorry. While local governments couldn't ban centers outright, they could regulate operating hours. Now, according to a statement that was came up from the Massachusetts for Mental Health Options, says that for nearly 2 years, that campaign has been dedicated to finding solutions and new options for those struggling with depression, PTSD, anxiety, and more. The group says that despite the loss, they had made huge important strides in educating millions of voters about psychedelics therapy access, which is good. Adding they would continue working with lawmakers for hope and for healing. Now, Kevin Sabat, president of SMART, which is Smart Approaches to Marijuana and Foundation for the Drug Policy Solutions, called the defeat a tremendous victory for public health and safety in Massachusetts that will hopefully have national implications. Now, something that was going to help people is a public health concern. Despite being outspent by an order of magnitude, our coalition worked hard to educate voters on the harms of psychedelics and the dangers of an unregulated drug marketplace, an unfettered homegrown program. He argued that the measure relied on flawed, biased, and incomplete research. See what else it says. The proposal happened to draw criticism from unexpected quarters leading up to the vote. Staters for Natural Medicine, a pro-psychedelics group, opposed the measure's regulatory structure as too costly. The measure also would have allowed home cultivation in a 12 by 12 foot space, which another UPO group criticized as astronomical, noting it was equivalent to an average Massachusetts bedroom. Still, a key focus during the campaign was accessibility. And in Oregon, which launched its program in May of 2024, high treatment costs have remained a barrier despite legalization. The Massachusetts proposal included provisions directing regulators to examine affordable access options and potential fee waivers for lower income participants, campaign staff said. I guess that's all out the window now. 1 in 20 adults experienced severe mental illness. Emily Anaschak, a U.S. Navy veteran grassroots outreach director for the campaign, said during September briefing, "The circles I've flown in military, outside of the military, everyone is either dealing with something or knows someone close to them that is. Now, implementation would have been gradual, with treatment centers not opening until 2026 and full regulations for all substances not until 2028. Legal possession limits would have included 1 gram of DMT, psilocybin, and psilocin, 18 grams of non-peyote mescaline, and 30 grams of ibogaine." Now, Jesse Gold, an Army Ranger veteran and founder of Heroic Hearts Project, who worked with Oregon's program, had noted during an earlier campaign call that treatment costs have decreased by about 15% in the first year of operations. Now, Governor Maura Healey has also previously showed openness to exploring medical applications and signing legislation in January to create a working group studying therapeutic uses, particularly for veterans, and the state legislators separately considering a more limited bill focused specifically on psilocybin therapy. While interest in natural-derived psychedelics will continue to grow, major medical organizations, including the American Psychiatric Association, still have not endorsed psychedelics use outside of clinical trials, citing inadequate scientific evidence. Now, they say, although we are disappointed in the decision, we remain confident in a legal pathway to implement life-changing treatments in the state and across the country. And that comes to us from the president of the Healing Treaty Reality Trust, a healthcare real estate investment company. investment company. Right, so there you go. Massachusetts, they voted down psychedelics assistance, for ways for patients to get easier, more affordable access to their medicine, and unfortunately, that will not be happening. Well, it's time for me to go to break. Time for me to medicate and let the dog out. I can hear her upstairs. She wants to go. So I'll be right back. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News here on paceradio.net.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 page re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One's called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with, and then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're live with Psychedelics and Cannabis Education and News. All right, on to my last stories for the show. I got 3 here to go, and I'm going to say this first story is something that I'm sure a lot of pet owners here in Canada would like to see happen with our laws when it comes to cannabis and pets. Because in Brazil, they approved medical cannabis for animals. This comes to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference. There you go. Got the puppy, get the dropper there, going to get some medication. Now, Brazil's National Health Surveillance Agency recently decided to amend Ordinance CVC MS 344/1998 to allow the regulation of medical cannabis products for animals by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock. Veterinarians who are approved by the nation's Federal Council of Veterinary Medicine may prescribe registered cannabis-based medications to animals. The policy states that veterinarians may only prescribe these products through special prescriptions from pharmacies, as is already the case with other controlled medications and products in accordance with current legislation guaranteeing their strictly therapeutic use. Now, a study from December of 2022 conducted by researchers in Brazil found that at the macro level, not micro, macro level, cannabis appears to be safe for pets, especially cannabidiol, as long as it's administered in the right dosage level. Now, the researchers also stated in the study that their review was systematically performed in Medline and Latin American and Caribbean health sciences literature databases with period restrictions between 1990 and 2021. The qualified articles, which met the previously established inclusion criteria, were critically evaluated. Now, based on the literature review, it is possible to infer safety in the administration of cannabis-based products for the treatment of dogs, especially products rich in CBD, free of or with low concentrations of THC under the conditions evaluated. In addition, CBD products potentially promote improved quality of life and reduce pain perception in animals affected by canine osteoporosis, the researchers noted. And then they say that finally, owing to the lack of large-scale and robust clinical research studies, the performance of clinical trials considering the individual characteristics of each cannabis-based product is strongly encouraged, the researchers concluded. Now, according to a recent market analysis by Global Market Insights, the global CBD pet market was worth an estimated $693 million. Wow. That was in 2023. Now, the CBD pet market is projected to grow at an estimated 18.2% from 2024 to 2032, and the market growth will be driven by growing pet ownership coupled with increasing awareness and acceptance of the potential therapeutic benefits of hemp-derived CBD for pets. And the dog segment is set to lead the market, accounting for the largest revenue of $416 million, anticipating its dominance throughout the forecast period with significant growth rate, according to Global Market Insights. Ollie Dog, friends of ours here at the Pace Radio Network, they have a tincture for dogs, very low in THC. You got to have some in there in order for things to completely work. And he has a little bit in there. His products are all made by Legacy 420. It's all lab tested, the whole bit. And his products are really good. And I have some here in my house for our pets. We've got the dog and a couple kitties here. So, all righty. On to my next story. And this one here is right here in Canada. And that is the fact that it's an update on what's going on in Winnipeg. And what's going on there? Winnipeg staff report recommends keeping designated production licensing in place. This comes to me for StratCan. What's all this about? Yeah, it says a new report from the city staff in Winnipeg says they have no public complaints or license applications following the designated medical cannabis production zoning amendments adopted in 2022. Zoning amendments for designated cannabis? The city adopted the new bylaw to regulate designated medical cannabis production sites in April of 2022, following community concerns at such operations occurring in residential areas within the city. Health Canada allows the licensing of designated individuals to grow cannabis for others who are authorized to access cannabis for medical purposes. Okay, so this isn't about factories, people. This is about medical patients. Such licenses have been under increased scrutiny for the past few years from several municipalities and many conservative MPs. They keep yelling, loophole, loophole. especially in Ontario, where the OPP say criminal enterprises are exploiting the Health Canada medical personnel and designated cannabis production regime. A Southern Ontario county says that they are the first in Canada to take steps to manage personal and designated medical grow licenses through local zoning bylaws, and not limited to Ontario, though. In 2022, municipalities in Alberta called for limits for medical cannabis grows in residential areas. Whatever happened about the medical, privacy end? And yeah, Norfolk did set something up, and they did set up a licensing regime that patients had to go through. Now, as part of the Winnipeg's 2022 bylaw, city staff were also required to put together a report 2 years later on the effectiveness of new licensing program. Staff were given an extra 6 months in April of 2024 to complete the report, which is scheduled to be reviewed by the City Standing Committee on Property Development tomorrow on November the 8th. The report notes that since the program's implementation, there have been no license applications for designated cannabis production facilities. Not one. Why would somebody do that? It's a health violation when it comes to their rights. It also points out the city has not received any calls from residents about such licenses during this time. So who's complaining? Nobody. City staff also note that while Health Canada's public portal said at one point that there were around 2,000 designated personal medical growers operating in Manitoba, but as of 2022, those numbers now show fewer than 20 designated growers in the whole province. Now, while personal designated production licenses have been several years of steady declines, a recent report from Health Canada notes an uptick in license issuance in 2024, including in Manitoba. The number of personal and designated medical grow inspections conducted by Health Canada has been increasing in the last few years. There have been more than 300 such inspections in the previous 2 years. And I can tell you, I know patients who've been in the program since day one, and they've never seen an inspection, and they had large numbers. So they're stepping them up. All such designated growers of cannabis for medical purposes in the city of Winnipeg are required to be licensed under and comply with the bylaw. The licensing program allows city officials to conduct inspections, suspend or revoke a license, or issue a fine if there is a health or safety concerns. Now, Manitoba also recently passed a law that will allow people in Manitoba to grow up to 4 plants, because that has been against the law until the change in their provincial government, although the law is still not in force yet. Now, from what it says here, they don't expect it to be implemented until early 2025. So people in Manitoba still cannot grow their 4 cannabis plants, just like the people in Quebec can't, but the rest of the country can. And in Manitoba, people have to get a license to do designated grower. So is that because do they look at it as the designated grower is not the patient? Well, what if the designated grower is a patient? What if one of his spots is his? He has to give up his health information in order to receive a license. How is that right? It's not. As we know, the government, there was the Health Canada breached patients' privacy rights just by exposing us in a big white envelope, which unfortunately looks like isn't going any further. So, alrighty, on to my last story of the day. I've only read the headline on this one, and it made me curious. So I thought, well, hey, let's just bring it to the news, and we'll see what the rest of the story says. And there it goes. It says that ex-UFC fighter reveals he was high on psychedelics during a key PFL fight. And this comes to me from SI.com. Yeah, here we go. It says that in a surprising, I'm just gonna stop that. Hopefully, in a surprising reveal, ex-UFC middleweight Tom Breeze has owed up to competing while high on mushrooms during a pivotal bout in the PFL. Breeze, left the UFC after losing to Omari Akhmanov in 2021. He found relative success in KSW and then moved to PFL, where he traded a win and a loss before moving to the regional circuit. Now, gotta love the pop-ups. Just mess everything up. Breeze lost by, I think that's where I was at. Yeah. Breeze lost by first round TKO, ruining his chances at competing for the $1 million prize. Since then, Breeze has picked up a win in Levels Fight League and could be looking at a return to KSW or a debut in Octagon MMA. Breeze held a winning record in the UFC, only losing to high-pro fighters like Akhmadov and Brandon Allen and Sean Strickland. His time in the promotion was cut short, likely due to the frequency of cancellations. Overall, Breeze had 8 canceled or rescheduled fights, 4 of which were caused by Breeze, and 1 of which was on a few hours' notice. Yeah, so there you go. He was doing mushrooms during a big fight. I'm just trying to see if there's any stuff on here anymore that I missed, but unfortunately that video keeps wanting to play and it's not getting along with me, so it's over. So there you go. He used psychedelics during a fight. I'm sure that not too many fighters would recommend that, I'm sure. Alrighty, other than that, I am done for the day. Got my stories all finished up. So from the Legacy420.com news desk, that's my Pace News report for November the 7th. Thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Legacy420.com, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, as well as atease.ca. In closing, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and super important, do not incarcerate. See you all Monday, and I'm sure Cindy will be back with me then, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
I think the newbie is burning up the tires on the little Nugs cart here.
Last time I checked, I don't even know if the baby's still in there.
Oh, really?
It's been a long time since I've
Well,
looked.
you got it tied in there pretty good, though, with the string and all.
It's pretty secure, but ever since he's become mobile, he climbs out every once in a while. So, yeah, how big is Toronto? I'm sure we'll find him later.
So I have a question for you. As you said, you're the newbie. Why do you march?
To have the conversation, or to encourage having the conversation. I think my biggest thing is I do not like the fact that any conversation is cut down because people are uncomfortable or they only want one side to be told. And I think that the conversation regarding cannabis isn't fully being told or fully allowed to be told. And I think that's both the positives and the negatives. I'm not even advocate that it's, the miracle. I don't think anything is the one and all thing, but people have to at least be willing to do the studies on it, have the conversations. What is it actually doing? Where does it help? Who can it help? And allow people to find that personalization that I've really come to understand. Like I used to think that weed equals weed. And now I've become fully aware that it's so personal in terms of how you take it, how much you take it, what you take it for. And if the conversation isn't allowed to be had, then people will constantly be quite possibly utilizing it in the wrong way because they have nobody to really go to find out how they can improve, I guess, their experience with the plant.
Yeah.
That make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. And being you're a newbie, it's good to hear.
Yeah, you know what? And I think if the conversation is allowed to be had, then the stigma breaks. All those other things that people are wanting to have happen. I think it just starts with people being allowed to even discuss it.
Yeah, exactly. Because before, without legalization, that was that would be an issue with a lot of people. They didn't want to discuss it because it was illegal, and they figured discussing it would be taken negatively by somebody in their family or a friend or.
I don't know. You tell me, Al. You've been in this community for way longer than I've even been in it, for sure. But I think the conversation doesn't want to even be fully had within the community, lest some of the I think everything has positives and negatives, and I think sometimes even the community itself doesn't want the full conversation to be had. It just in case, even MJ and I talk sometimes, and she's worried sometimes that she might find out that maybe she isn't a fully medical user, and that bothers her. Maybe she is more of a recreational user, and not that there should be a stigma attached to that either, but she's preached so long in her own mind that this is why I consume, that she's almost afraid to find out that maybe there are other reasons she consumes, and then that changes the narrative that's been built up in her own head.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's scary for some people.
Well, personally myself, I've been consuming cannabis since I was 13. And when I became a patient when I was 41, it was something that I knew I could use as the benefit wise, and would help me. There was a benefit for me to consume it because it was going to help me with my condition. And because of cannabis, I never got prescribed any opiate drugs other than when I was hospitalized.
Do you?
So because I couldn't shut up.
So let me ask you this, just because we're talking conversation, or having the conversation.
Yeah, and we're stuck here.
One of the things that, in regards to opening the conversation, and I'd love to have your opinion on this, is MJ and I talk a lot about the consuming it through the burning consumption, through smoking it, and the health benefits that can come from cannabis, but also, there's also the negative side of, that form of consumption can certainly do damage to lungs. And I think that's the conversation that even people in the community are afraid to have, because everybody just wants to talk about it as if it's this perfect thing. How do you feel about that concept of that form of consumption?
Oh, I've been a toker all the way along, but I push and discuss the non-smoking methods because I don't expect somebody who, let's say, is 75 years of age and is going to start using cannabis medicinally, who has never smoked anything in their life. I don't think that they should be forced to smoke cannabis, and that was part of the argument before the courts back in 2013, because at that time smoked cannabis was the only way that we were legally allowed to consume it as patients. And so it went battled through the courts, and we had like a 5-year-old lad whose mother was making him cannabis oil, but that at that time was illegal, and she was risking arrest.
Do you I think, okay, so I as you're just talking there, I'm just thinking this out loud.
Sirens blaring.
Right, MJ always makes comments about the fact of, 5 years ago, this whole place would have scattered as soon as they heard the sirens go.
Now,
no.
Now they ride by on their bikes and they say hi.
I think one of the things also about why I advocate for having the conversation is because of things like you just described, where somebody now comes into the world of going, okay, there is a more natural way for me to maybe, fight against some drug that maybe the pharmaceuticals have been working with them with. And now they're like, oh, well, maybe cannabis can actually do it for me. But there's very few people, though, that they can actually go to have the conversation to say, hey, guess what? You don't have to smoke it, because the stigma and the perception is like, I thought that was the only way it was ever consumed. Like, the fact that there's so many methods now has blown my mind over the years. But again, it goes back to having that conversation. People still don't know. So now they're thinking, oh man, I could probably use cannabis, but I don't want to smoke it. And they don't even realize that there's an option.
Exactly, they don't.
That only happens when people are willing to sit down and go, we talk about bud tenders being kind of handcuffed, that they're not able to, they often are the doorkeeper, and someone comes in and they're interested in trying something, but the bud tenders aren't equipped and empowered and trained enough to really share any information with them. And so where do people go who are like going, I think this can help me, but nobody can talk to me about it, and nobody's willing to talk to me.
Oh, believe me, in those early days, that was big time, big issue. And there's more now than there was 5 years ago, but 10 years ago, it was nasty.
Well, I can tell you this, and I'll end with this because there's lots of other people.
Right, we got to go.
Yeah. But this conversation that I'm just having with you, if you had told me 10 years ago that I would be at a global marijuana march on a video feed having a conversation about cannabis, I would have been like I would have thought you are nuts and you're high. You got to be high, clearly. So just that's why I'm here, is the fact of, even as a non-consumer, I still believe that these conversations need to be had, and that's what I'm advocating for.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks, Timmy. Where can people find you?
Oh, well, you find us at the Newbie and the Doobie, and we do have a show here. What is it, Wednesday nights, I think?
10 o'clock.
Wednesday nights is 10 o'clock, the Newbie and Doobie podcast, and we're actually working on a bunch of new stuff right now that we'll be looking to release in the next little while. And then, of course, Mary Jane Baker's got her own stuff through Instagram, and I'm at The Real Timmy Boyle. But Newbie and the Doobie, check us out, and we want to break the stigma, have the conversation, bring the fun, and raise the bar.
There you go. Thank you very much. Robert. Al Grand Pace Radio and it's Al Rap of 420 Radio.
How you doing?
Hey,
Yeah.
good to see you. And what do you think?
Well, I always get blown away at these events. It reminds me of actually, a lot of people don't know that I was an infantry reservist while I was at university. And the first day of boot camp, and it was like, had a sergeant basically said, turn to the left, turn to the right. Chances are the man on the other side won't be here at graduation. Well, that's kind of how I look at the cannabis industry, especially at MJ BizCon. It's like, turn to the left, turn to the right. The racking system on either side of you, probably won't be here by the time of U.S. federal legalization when you look at it. So in a way, it's interesting because you're seeing more and more consolidation of the industry, but at the same point, you're also seeing innovation, new products, new delivery systems, new papers, new cones.
X about his new device. And you're like, wow.
DabX, personally, they're fantastic. I'm not endorsing anything. Lawyers got to be very careful about endorsing products, but over the years, I've been given and have used lots of devices. And the cool thing about what we're seeing now with them and some of the Puffcos is, what would have taken a whole, accoutrement of equipment, activity, and containers, and so on. You can do all of that now quite discreetly, and they're a great product.
Yeah. Now, just a quick question, and I'll let you go. Sovereign cannabis issue. It's been discussed here with a few people I've talked to, up there, and someone told me to talk to you.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but then I got to get my ego in check and remember that we're in Ontario, and the Indigenous framework, and again, it's similar but different. Now, I'm BC.
Correct. Where government considers everybody under the law, right?
Well, in BC, what's unique is that you have the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. That's been passed into law federally, but BC is the only province that has brought in the UNDRIP, and they call it DRIPA, the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Persons Act. So, again, you got to remember, constitutionally, Section 91 deals with federal, Section 92 is provincial. Indigenous come under Section 91. Cannabis is a very interesting industry because it represents an intersection of federal, provincial, municipal licensing.
Yeah, it does.
Well, Indigenous are effectively their own level of government, right? So sovereignty ultimately does play into it. And where I've been egging on the courts and the system in BC is I've made the argument that cannabis is regulated at the phytocannabinoid level, which read the definition of cannabis in Schedule 1 of the Cannabis Act. Well, in addition to cannabis, there's other plants like echinacea, also known as coneflower, as well as kale, which, again, you do enough synthesizing, you can turn that into, or again, phytocannabinoids identical to cannabis and at 0.3 regardless of process. So ultimately, an Indigenous elder, or anyone for that matter, making a echinacea tincture would need a processing license under the Cannabis Act. Well, in the case of our Indigenous brothers and sisters, there is no license or exemption for food, social, or ceremonial purposes. Where does that leave us? I don't know, but it allows me at least to get a second life on the jurisprudence that was involved with the medical dispensaries in the Vancouver test case and apply that to larger arguments dealing with cannabis and plant medicines. But in addition, I've foolishly or not, added fungi to the
very popular down there.
Because at least on the coast and in the interior of BC and throughout Canada, you have mushrooms everywhere. And if you've got farming and herding and cattle and dung, you got psilocybin mushrooms. So the end of the day, whether or not the jury's still out on when cannabis showed up in Canada, psilocybin's here, right? So if we're looking at sovereignty and decriminalizing nature, I really think the indigenous are our best hope in effectively stepping up and being a counterweight to a lot of these federal measures, because if they're successful in those arguments, it should prove to liberalize and open up some of the doors and avenues elsewhere.
I agree completely.
It's been always a pleasure to speak.
Pleasure. Good luck on everything. All right. Good.
Thank you.
There you go. Impromptu interview with Robert Laurier, lawyer from BC.
So what are you doing? Nothing. Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, hey, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Good evening. I'm Coulter Wonkite. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
I have arthritic pain in my fingers, in my back, and in my legs.
Sheesh, everything's triggering all at once here. This is the 420 Radio Show. We are live on lifestyleradio.ca or .net. Jess, where are you? And Elizabeth Crichton will be along shortly, as will Justin Kander. They're going to chat about a whole bunch of stuff today. And I shouldn't have lit this joint just before we went on the air.
Hi, Al.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yeah. So, how are you? What's your name again?
Lori.
Lori, thank you.
I'm not bad, you?
I'm all right. We're going to open up our
Conference locked.
800 number later on in the show. But if you'd like to call and wait in line, you may go ahead. What else are we going to talk about? The number is on our website.
Okay.
That way people have to go to our website to listen.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I listen to your website all day long usually.
How are you,
while I'm sitting here working.
what's your name again?
Lori.
Lori, there we go. We have another conversation going on.
Are we here now?
I think we're here now, yeah. But we're going to be
together.
We're going to be here in a minute. All right.
Okay.
So we're going to turn on a tune and find everybody, and then we'll be back to start the show. And this is the 420 Radio Show. We're live on Lifestyle Radio. Lifestyle Radio.
This is Bubbles from the trailer park, and they're playing some fucking excellent music on lifestyleradio.ca. I hope I didn't sound too nervous there.
Please hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Selassie.
Well, is it Sensi Rock again?
I'm for your touch again.
Why, oh, Mr. Earthman.
Bring it up.
Mr. Earthman.
Ooh, yeah.
Bring me a bag of Kali. Mr. Earthman. Me tell you me need more of that. Mr. Earthman. Bring me a bag of Kali. Mr. Earthman. Well, hurry up now, hurry up now.
Cause right away, as I wake, I need to meditate. So I need a pound of cushion at me place. So right away, call up the Earthman and tell him, say don't delay. By my gate, him up me sit down and away. Oh yeah, no sense rock, come check me so the chalice it a feel like. Meditation in the heights and get the red up in a we eyes. So globalize, centralize, we say it's feel legalize. Babylon abundant when display for light. Alive.
Mr. Earthman.
Tell you bring it up.
Bring me a bag of Kali. Mr. Earthman. Me tell you me need more of that. Mr. Earthman.
Sense rock make him know.
Bring me a bag of Kali. Mr. Earthman. Yeah. Well, hurry up now, hurry up now. Right, you know me and my brethren pon the corner. We are waiting for the Earthman fi come on, yeah. Oh, that him take so long to bring a bag of Kali come. From morning no even a split feel me done. Me have to roll it, me want to smoke it. That's why we have the whole world promoted. Me want to roll it, me want to smoke it. Now the prescription chemical drug it ID natural Kali.
Hey, Mr. Earthman.
Bring me a bag of Kali.
Hey, Mr. Earthman.
Me tell you give me more of that. Me need more of that. Yes, me need it. Bring me a bag of Kali. Bring me the bag of Kali. Wow. Hurry up now, hurry up now. Mr. Earthman. No, 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 no. Sense rock again.
So we need the herbs. For your touch, need the transcend the rock, so bring it come, yeah. From Jamaica to Netherlands.
Hi, I'm
I can't get back into listening.
This is
he might have got the wrong number.
420 radio show. Watch what numbers you're playing out there. This, we're on the air now. So.
Okay, which number do I?
Just 1 second. We're going to be right back. We're going to try and get our guests all straightened away. We're going to listen to some Eddie Murphy and Snoop Lion.
Nice.
On the 420 radio show. I think that's the good song. Radio show. I think that's the good song to listen to. Yes, I do.
Red light, stop right there where you are. Red light, stop right there where you are. Out of the frying pan into the fire, burning down the people's souls. My high anxiety is getting higher. It feels like I'm gonna blow. Yeah, gone is the breeze. It used to be so sweet. Poison is the wind that blows. Yeah, it can't be long. The military come with a knock, knock, knock on your door. All right, red light, stop right there where you are. This is a red light, stop right there where you are. Emancipation, race relations, most of your rebels are gone. The trust in nation, the time we're wasting, the people's patience is gone. Oh Lord, broken economy, our streets are dire, even more than before. I need some betterness to take me higher. Feels like I'm gonna blow. Yeah, gone are the days when people used to say everything is alright. No place to run. Now here you come with a knock, knock, knock on your door. Oh, red light, stop right there where you are. This is a red light, stop right there where you are. Red light, stop right there where you are. Red light, stop right there where you are.
Pick up the pieces, let it begin, cause this is the way that we flow. Higher and higher and higher we go. Through dedication, some preservation, Ali, I said, I see,
Marcus Garvey, Malcolm and Martin, all the rebels are gone. We lost our way, darkest is the day. Most of the rebels are gone. Yeah, red light. Red light. Red light.
We can ride, we can roll, we can breathe, we can talk, we can walk, we can stop at the red light. We can smoke, we can do what we want, we'll be real, we'll be blunt, we'll just stop at the red light. We'll stay true, we'll be you, we'll be up way above, and no push and no shove at the red light. We can ride, we can roll, we can breathe, we can talk, we can walk, we can stop at the red light. We can smoke, we can do what we want, we'll be real, we'll be blunt, and we'll stop at the red light. We'll stay true, we'll be you, we'll be way up above, and no push and no shove at the
And we are the 420 radio show. I was just telling Jess that I really, really like this new Jack White album. And my new favorite song is Lazzarato, which we're going to hear later. I can't stop playing it. Can you hear? It's called Overplay. We've been joined by Justin Kander he's the webmaster of Phoenix Tears Foundation's website. And also Elizabeth Croydon. Elizabeth is a comedian, publisher, blah, 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 blah. She's also an advocate for cannabis. So welcome to the 420 radio show, guys.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad that you're all here. Now, Justin, you're going to love this. While we have this chat, Lori is making caps.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hey, listen, multitasking is my middle name, right?
So, Justin, tell me, please, if you wouldn't mind, give us an update at what you're up to. I know that you've been published a few more times since the last time you were on the show.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot more writing for Medical Jane, and I've continued to update my report, Cannabis Extract Report. And the things that have been going on now, the growth in the movement is just alarming. One of the big things is that Ricky Lake is making a documentary called Weed the People about my friends Mara Gordon and Stuart Smith, who are treating pediatric patients with cannabis oils for cancers and other diseases. That's one of the things that I'm most excited about. I also just wrote an article for Medical Jane about Nuvalex, which is aiming to use encapsulation technologies to improve the effectiveness of cannabis extract medicine, because there are certainly cases where there are cancers that are hard to reach, and it just doesn't seem to be as effective in those cases. But if the encapsulation technologies could be used to concentrate the medicine in those areas, then it would work much better. Those are two quick updates. But in general, everything's just been going great. So much rising news, articles about other patients using oils to fight cancers. There was just a few weeks ago one on Ladybud about Logan Yule, who had terminal leukemia, told he was going to die, and in 3 months is standing clear of cancer. He's also going to be in Weed the People. It just keeps happening over and over. People are seeing, these are reliable results. This is happening, and it needs to be given the attention it deserves.
And I love what's going on, although I was talking with Elizabeth earlier. We're going backwards up here in Canada, as you know. And
oh yeah, that I'm familiar with a little bit of that.
It's very sad, but it's nice to see the progress going forward as far as concentrates go and extracts and stuff like that. Elizabeth used to be involved in. You were involved in one of the first.
One of the very first compassionate care clubs. In fact, that term hadn't even been coined yet. In 1997, I assisted by being the hostess with the mostest in New York City with Johan Moore and the yippie Dana Beal. And those were the days when AIDS patients were taking AZT cocktails to treat their disease, and Mayor Giuliani had a 24-hour lockup rule so that if these lawyers would step around the corner and smoke their J to get rid of the nausea that the AZT cocktails were giving them, they would be locked up for 24 hours, and then they weren't able to get their medicine, and then they would come back to us, 3 times as ill. And
wow.
It was quite a thrill to see the true impact of cannabis on people. I mean, the people, the cancer patients that were unable to eat. One of our patients began taking a photographic art project in hand, where he showed himself in the middle of his chemo before he had begun co-treating it with cannabis. And he was emaciated and looked like he was on death's door. And then he took a picture of him smoking, and then he took a picture of him eating a sandwich. And he beat the cancer. And by midway through his project, you could see the health and the life returning to his eyes.
And this was in the 80s?
It was in the early 90s, 1996, 97.
Okay.
And it really opened my eyes to what cannabis can do. And I began smoking as a juvenile delinquent, and I did not look at what I was doing as a medical treatment. I mean, I put myself under tremendous pressure as an artist. I've been in acting and comedy for over 30 years. And I would put myself under these tremendous amounts of pressure and stress, and I did not look at what I was doing as medical. I just thought, oh, I'm feeling better.
Yeah. And you know what? That's exactly what people need to start saying. It's so simple. And for anybody who knows anything about it, and if you don't know anything about it, Google it. It's called cannabis or marijuana or pot or weed, whatever you want to call it. Weed. Okay.
I
Google
love
it.
the term weed because that's exactly what it is. It grows everywhere and anywhere.
And it grows just like one.
But you know what? I'll tell you something.
It's funny about that term weed, actually. A weed is only something that you don't want.
Yes, that's right.
It's exactly the opposite of weed.
And I have sat there.
Some of my favorite dietary foods are considered weeds, like dandelions. Great for the liver.
Yes.
Considered a weed.
But yet, medical.
It's only a weed when it's in my rose garden.
Yeah.
Man, I would love weed in my rose garden.
When it's in my herb garden.
Wouldn't it be great to graft weed and roses? So maybe if you got like a master grafter, you could have like a flowering rose with a bud right in the center of it. Which reminds me of a really cool compassionate club. If there are any California listeners out there, there's an amazing compassionate club called Bud and Roses, or Buds and Roses, which was started by a fellow whose daughter is in great need of the weed. I also like the word weed because you have to smile when you say it.
Yeah.
You're right.
What do you hear from people, Justin, in all your conversations? I have conversations with Lori and Jess and other people, and I know Lori, for one, finds the word weed and pot kind of derogatory, right, Lori?
Well, I have found that in talking to people that are of the reefer madness mindset, by speaking to them about cannabis, it almost it's like they're almost starting to get friendly and warm up to the idea before they realize it's pot.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it almost makes it friendlier and more.
I find think about who our audience is when we're speaking.
That's right, and I find when I'm having a conversation, I have a conversation with this person, I call it, like with my buddy down the road, I call it pot. When I'm having a conversation with Lori, I call it cannabis.
Yeah, as my profession is a comedian, so I am allowed a certain amount of professional irresponsibility. But, my job is to be irreverent. But my buddy Adam Eidinger and the DCMJ cannabis campaign to go with full legalization in Washington, D.C., they're very careful, and they use the word cannabis.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice word, and it takes away, although a lot of people are not aware, it takes away the racial slur of marijuana.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know the word cannabis as well.
It's true.
Right.
It's very true. Yeah. And they need to understand that because you got the cannabinoid receptors in your brain. So the two of them are very simpatico.
I'm stimulating those right now.
Well, and to quote something, a friend of ours, Dr. Sunil Agarwal from, I believe he's at NYU in New York there. I was listening to an address that he gave at Albert Einstein Institute, and he was telling the people in the class that they should use the word cannabis because when you give your patient morphine, you don't tell them you're giving them a prescription for smack.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Unless they're a comic. My whole thing, and there's a reason why I like to call it weed. I mean, it's been around forever, and there's a whole tradition that's being ignored. Like the poor 1960s vets are being ignored, and they were some of the first pioneers in post-traumatic stress disorder. They called it weed.
Yep.
That's right.
one of my issues.
I say,
is that
I like
in
to
this-
say, once a pothead, always a pothead. You know.
Amen and a women, and a couple sheep plants if you can afford to grow your own. That's the other concern that I have, which is why I primarily refer to it as weed, and weed are the world, because my concern with this green rush is that it's going to become unaccessible to the poverty-stricken family that has been using it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we need to. That's why I fell in love with safeaccessnow.org. We need to make certain that it remains accessible and affordable to patients.
Definitely.
What is happening at Phoenix Tears these days? I know that there's a lot of families moving into Colorado now, eh?
Yeah, so the Phoenix Tears Foundation is doing a lot of work in Colorado, including to help some of the families relocating. They released a press release about welcoming the Warrior family, who has a child with one of the rare intractable forms of epilepsy. They're also doing the Phoenix 5 project, which is treating 5 terminal cancer patients from start to finish, so that people can see it as it happened. Because that's the most compelling thing. When you see someone start the treatment, they're told they're terminal, and then you see those results. That's the most compelling. And there's been 2 updates released so far. One, I believe it was colorectal or colon cancer. She's feeling a lot better overall, just like night and day. But the most stunning update was this guy, David Atkins, who had a spinal tumor stretching from T2 to T7 up his spine.
Wow.
It was either going to paralyze him or kill him. And in only 7 weeks of cannabis extract treatment, the tumor is gone.
Wow.
So that update is, it's out there on YouTube. It's in my report. So yeah, Phoenix Tear. And another thing is they're working with Cannabis Science to do skin cancer trials in Colombia. So, just prove it once and for all that it works against skin cancer. Those are basically the 2 main projects going on right now, the Phoenix 5 and the Colombia skin cancer trials. And I'm really excited about both of them.
I'm really excited about those projects and about the word getting out further. I've seen from my own eyes skin cancer tumors shrink with the application of the high concentrated oil. And I was curious if in the Phoenix Tears Foundation, if anyone had ever heard of the filmmakers Trey Booth and Kevin Booth from Sacred Cow Productions.
Yes.
Their last movie followed the story of an infant that had been diagnosed with a rare cancer. She had over 300 seizures a day, and the cannabis was able to slow that down. And there was marked improvement in her cannabis treatments. They were using a combination of chemo and cannabis, and it's unfortunate that the strain on the infant body, caused her to pass away. But it was documented improvement that the cannabis was making a difference where the chemotherapy was unable to, and it's so hopeful.
So that was American Drug War 2, right? Because Kevin Booth,
that's right.
American Drug War 2. So I don't know about a girl, but I know that the Cash Hyde was definitely in that. He had a rare brain tumor and was on the verge of death. And Mike Hyde began secretly administering cannabis oil through the feeding tube, and he immediately started improving, was able to get off all his anti-nausea and pain medications.
Yes.
And the tumor started shrinking, and he was eventually pronounced cancer-free. So his situation was unique in that as soon as he was pronounced cancer-free, they lost access to cannabis oil, and the cancer came back. They then went to California to do a combination of proton therapy and the oil, even though the doctor said the proton therapy probably wouldn't work. He used it along with the oil and yet again beat the cancer without needing any anti-nausea. medications, which was incredible. And then yet again, lost access to the medicine and the cancer came back. And then he wasn't able to get any more and he did die. And his case shows that even once the cancer is gone, you need to keep a maintenance dose going. And I've seen this before because there are still residual cancer cells in the body. There's always cancer cells in the body for one thing. And if you've had cancer before, then your risk of it returning is much higher. But people who stay on a maintenance dose, I've never heard of, the cancer coming back. And there are many people who don't take maintenance doses and the cancer doesn't come back. But, when it's your life, you don't want to take any chances. And also in regards to Cash Hyde, there was a great article on Vice.com just 2 days ago it's called Families Desperately Seeking CBD. And it starts off with Cash Hyde's story and how he responded so well to the high THC medicine. But THC and CBD are both important and have their own applications.
I followed Cashie's story right from the get-go, and I was so happy to see it working because they made it very, very public what they were doing. And
Justin, are you aware of the little girl? I think she had leukemia in Toronto, and the doctor documented, even though he wasn't administering the cannabis oil, he documented it. And they also noticed that when they changed the strain, that her results changed. That she had great success with the oil, but then when they changed the strain, it changed the success, and then they switched back again. Do you know the study I'm talking about?
I'm extremely certain that you're referring to the November 2013 Case Reports in Oncology study, which is, that's the one case that truly is fully documented. And I don't understand why that hasn't gotten more attention. It is literal proof that at least in the case of acute lymphoblastic leukemia, cannabis extracts do work. No chemotherapy had been effective in reducing the leukemic blast cells, and within days of starting the oil, it plummeted. And by day 39 of the treatment, there were only like 300 blast cells left, where the peak had been 374,000. And another thing is that you're right, the changing the strains and changing the dosage did have an effect on the leukemic blast cell count, and that's how they knew it was the cannabis oil and not spontaneous remission. It ruled out spontaneous remission as a cause because there was a dose-dependent relationship. So, a lot of people say, with cannabis oils, you don't know if it's, it could have been spontaneous remission, which is just, it's bullshit with all these cases and the immediacy of these effects. Is, calling all this spontaneous remission is just not true, and it's irresponsible to say that.
What?
But wait a second, though. Spontaneous remission does happen.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to this is the thing. We have to remember that too.
I understand what Justin's saying, though, is that the result of that specific trial is that
with that one for sure
was dependent on the actual administration of the cannabis oil.
Yep, and I concur. But that is a problem because there is spontaneous remission, and sometimes we don't really know.
It's a matter of the number of cases.
Yeah,
that's the key. Over all these years, seeing so many cases, when you look at the details, it's very clear that there's something going on when it's examined holistically.
And when I'm speaking to patients, I always tell them, there is a chance that it could be spontaneous remission, but why take the chance and not stay on a maintenance dose anyway?
Why wouldn't somebody stay on the maintenance dose?
Because other than
finances,
that's an issue that I have with my father. Recently, he was on a wretched chemical drug that was interfering with his cognizant abilities, and I was nervous that it was dementia. Well. He's been off of it for 2 weeks now, and he's returned to the dad I know. But living with over 47 years of multiple sclerosis symptoms, I have constantly worked to get him to try a brownie to see if that helps with some of his issues. And I run into the entrenched 1950s, 60s mentality, and with his legal service to the government, that this is not something he can have as an option because of its legal status, which breaks my heart.
Oh, for sure. That's hugely limiting and prohibitive for so many people, you know. And you know, anybody in any kind of position where they administer drug tests on any kind of a regular basis, anybody of any sort of technical or high risk position or anything like that, yeah. And I think the proof of the efficacy and safety of it, it's tantamount. We have to force that as being like, you know, I had the occasion to talk to a doctor I was on a panel with there back in, when was that? I guess in 1st April. And he had admitted to me that he'd only ever allowed 2 patients to use cannabis here in Canada, even though it's been allowed for many, many years. And only because they had cancer, only because they were terminal, and only because there was nothing else that was alleviating the side effects of the cancer treatments.
You're inspiring me to inform you guys, in case you're not aware, that the DEA has begun harassing our PhD physicians that are recommending marijuana to their patients.
Oh, God.
And
or who are involved in cannabis businesses.
That's actually in the news that's coming up. That's one of our stories that we're about to do, yeah. And I think that's disgusting.
They're kind of doing that here in Canada, too, though, aren't they, Jess?
Well, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
In fact, they've stopped physicians from recommending cannabis from one province to another. It used to be that we could do that, and in fact, we can still Skype for some reason from one province to another, but a doctor, even though he's registered with the Royal College of Physicians in Canada, now can no longer, you know, go to another province and recommend cannabis.
Jesus. Well, pardon my New York French when I say fuck that shit.
Yeah, but yet they can do it on Skype. This is what amazes me.
Yeah, it's dependent on what province your ass is sitting in.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
if your ass is in the province that you're licensed in, you're good to go. Now, I have noticed that one of the provinces, I believe it was Quebec, there was an article in the last week where their doctors are very concerned about the fact that patients in Quebec are being signed by doctors in other provinces.
Right. They have an entirely different legal system than the rest of the country, a different constitution, and so their crackdown on cannabis is way harder than the rest of the country.
That's true.
It's not benefiting them, that's for sure.
Now, Saskatchewan did take the forethinking measure of actually reviewing the situation and making directives for their doctors, and I was kind of they didn't say that they couldn't recommend it. What they said was that if you are going to recommend cannabis to patients, you are not allowed to be involved with some business that is also selling it or reselling it or a resource
Which is
center.
Such hypocrisy, because you have all of these pharmaceutical sales reps running around spending big money scheduling lunches with doctors specifically for them to recommend their debilitating MS drug or their pseudo effective cancer drug or the latest antidepressant. So, you know, to say that doctors shouldn't be affiliated with a specific outlet or a specific grower is just poppycock.
Yeah. So, hey, Justin, I know you can't stay very long, but I mean, I haven't spoken to you before, but I immediately noticed, like, your ability to recall information and draw upon it. So, what's your background? You seem extremely informed.
Well, I got involved 6 years ago. I saw Run from the Cure March 3rd, 2008. I know because I made a post responding to the thread. So yeah, and I just followed the movement, from the beginning, saw it grow, from literally that one video, other people started making posts on forums. There were other documentaries like Sure to Cannabis Story and Vitamin Cannabis. And then I would say things really exploded, last August with the Sanjay Gupta documentary and the use of the high CBD oils to, fight epilepsy, which in my opinion is even more amazing than cancer, because cancer is something that we understand a little better, cells go malignant and you need to kill those cells, but epilepsy is just so complex. And I knew that, that was the moment when people would really start taking this seriously. And then I made cannabisextractreport.com, where I wrote that report for the Reform Conference in Denver, put on by DPA. And I've just been updating it and, collecting more information ever since. And, just from being surrounded, the reason that I remember things, a lot of details is because, I've just been looking over, so many cases and, some cases like the case reports of oncology stuff I've looked over, dozens of times. So, this has really become second nature to me. A lot of the patient cases, the protocols relating to the oil, and just following it, every case and, trying to become involved wherever I can has gotten me this far to where, I am the webmaster for Phoenix Tears Foundation, and I have, so many other amazing contacts. I'm very fortunate for, how far I've come in this.
You're in Denver? Is that where you're located?
I am actually in College Park, Maryland, which is right outside of D.C. I'm about to move.
Snappone. We have to get together before you move. I'm one of your neighbors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm
Excellent.
in Kensington, Maryland right now.
Oh, wow, that is close.
You never
I'm trying to move that west,
we'll have to medicate. I just got in from L.A., and I'm taking my first trip to Denver this summer, so we'll definitely have to exchange information through our hosts today.
Absolutely. You're a really awesome and funny person. I would definitely love to meet you at some point.
Oh, thank you.
Smooth talker, eh? He's a smooth talker, too.
Yeah, man.
Justin, I've got to say I admire what you've done so far, my friend. Justin's only in his 20s.
Hey, can I have I'd like to ask Justin a question.
Oh, sure. You go right ahead.
Feel free.
You're in College Park, man. Do you know what the dealio is with Maryland University and their medical department? Are they doing anything with cannabis? What's the college campus there feel like?
Well, I graduated last year. I was part of Students for Sensible Drug Policy, the University of Maryland chat. Yeah, they're absolutely amazing. I definitely would not be here without them. But yeah, so I was part of them. In terms of medical research that the campus is doing, I'm pretty sure that they're not doing any / I'm not aware of it. But I've seen a lot of general progress, like Good Samaritan policies that SSDP fought hard for that, so that people overdose on alcohol or other drugs that they can call for help without having fear of punishment.
Yeah.
There's been a strong push to reduce the penalties for cannabis possession on campus so people don't get kicked out of their dorms. Nothing has happened with that yet, but since, Maryland is about to decriminalize up to 10 grams in October, I'm hopeful that, this chapter will help equalize the penalties from the campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the general state of things here.
Yeah, I used to get high with this cat in high school, and he won. He went to Good Counsel High School, and he won the Good Christian Gentleman Award, and he had an A+ average, and went on to be one of the best musicians in the country. Some people thrive on studying. Some people can work very well under the influence of cannabis. Other people
I can
can't.
tell you that I did.
I can tell you that I do as well, sir.
And me, for sure. That's the only way I got through college, I gotta say.
I think there is something now. I'm speaking specifically from my personal experience, but I think there is definitely something to be said for a good sativa when you are pressuring your brain to absorb knowledge. It seems, or to create a story. It seems to provide a cerebral relief.
For sure.
So you're able to, memorize that book of macroeconomics in an evening.
So Elizabeth, I can see a picture of you and a little girl. Is that your daughter?
No, that's the daughter of a very dear friend of mine, Adam Eidinger, who's a longtime activist. He's the spokesperson for Dr. Bronner's hemp soap.
Yay!
Yeah, yay for sure.
The cannabis plants love Dr. Bronner's.
Oh my gosh! I mean, what a pioneer! He goes to India to make his soap, and I believe that the hemp that he uses is grown out in India at the moment. Adam would be the expert, but that is Adam's daughter, Arundhati Roy. And she's just a joy to be around. And Adam is a crazy mofo activist. I met him in the year 2000, and about 150 of us organized the core circle that protested against George Bush's selection to the White House. And he executes his activism through great theatrics. And he and Dr. Bronner, and I believe Ben Droz, I could be wrong about
Ben Droz.
Do you know Ben Droz? I love the Ben Droz.
I'm familiar. I know, he works for, is it Vote Hemp? I know he's like the main hemp activist.
He's the main lobbyist for Vote Hemp. He does fantastic work. And
I met him at my friend Stacia's birthday party. He's really high energy.
Yeah, he is total high energy. I love partying with that guy, and I'm always flattered when he comes out to a comedy show. But at any rate, Adam and Dr. Bronner, along with some other hemp farmers, went down to, I believe, the Department of Justice and planted hemp seeds on their front lawn with ceremonial shovels. And of course,
that was back in 2012.
Yes. Yeah, of course got arrested. And most recently, my biggest fear in the, if you'll pardon my comedy, weed industry is that Monsanto will start fucking with GMOs and weed.
Monsanto already is. Monsanto in Uruguay have teamed up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the whole deal with Uruguay and the government test project to grow weed for the people. It's a Monsanto endeavor.
Oh my goodness, I'll have to look at that very careful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind the super weed seed, but I definitely mind the suicide weed seed.
Monsanto had to get involved. There's no way that they would let the most spectacular plant on the planet, go by them.
Well, I pulled the wool over my own eyes and was resting in the safety of my own delusions, hoping to focus on oranges as they've done for so many years. But my favorite caper Adam and I recently pulled was with the organic food lobby. We dropped $2,000 from the top of the Hart Senate building, which is where a lot of the lobbying is done, after giving false awards to all the office holders that claimed they were doing their best to be subtle about accepting Monsanto campaign money. And we rolled around in the money on the floor and got arrested. The Secret Service came and applauded me, so there are a lot of people on our side that can't speak out. And Adam and the DCMJ.org organization that are right now in full force getting the petition for Prop 71 full legalization to be on the ballot. Right now they're finding that it's hard for Washingtonians to come out of the weed closet.
Right.
It is a very deep, dark weed closet. I mean, it's so deep you can see Narnia. In fact, often I go in the weed closet just to smoke with Aslan. But I grew up here, so I know all the stoners, and I know where they are, I know where they work, I know they're at NIH, I know they're planted in the Department of Justice, I know that certain security officers are winding down their day with weed.
Right.
But Adam and his crew they're relentless. I believe they've passed their halfway mark on the signatures. But they are still finding people that won't sign because of what they do. They're afraid of being fired. they've kept their. I wish I could have been subtle about my weed use, but clearly I like to share. Otherwise, I'd have a high-paying job in the private sector of our government.
Right.
But, one of the things that I've seen done, I was training in Aikido. I've trained in Aikido for over 20 years, and one of my senseis was Steven Seagal, and I train at the international headquarters here. I knew a cat who went on narcotic raids. And he was the first cat in the door on narcotic raids. And this cat would come to our mat with the shakes. And finally, one day, I just said, look, what is your problem with cannabis? Is that something that you are very much against? And he spoke about, not really being against that per se. He's more or less fighting the destruction that is caused by meth, by heroin. And I said to him, well, let's fuck beer night. Why don't you just smoke this doobie with me? It's a hybrid of sativa and indica.
Right.
And his shakes went away. He's now a patient, and to see at a confidential compassionate care club, but to see that change in the man that's the first through the door that has to decide who gets shot and who does not get shot, to see him benefit, it's outrageous to me that he does not have access to something that is helping him.
Yeah. For sure. And so many like him. There's so many people still that, I'm really blessed. I live, even though they're trying to take away my right to grow, I still have a license to possess. And even though I think that having a license and regulating humans is disgusting, I'm still very grateful that I have access to this medicine.
Well, what's going down with your license to grow?
Well, here in Canada, our government gave us for, I think, almost 10 years our right to grow our own medicine.
I think it was 13.
13 years, thank you. They recently decided that the only people that would grow medicine for us would be ones that they had licensed commercially.
Oh, man.
And so basically, Health Canada took the medical marijuana program and transferred it over to Industry Canada.
It's terrible.
And
it makes me cry.
But it's like the program, the problem is the first program was designed to fail, and yet we made it work. And now this problem, I believe, is designed to fail, and they're going to hand out so many licenses that it's going to fall apart because it's done for the, benefit of profit instead of,
Well, good luck trying to, stopping people from growing. It is a weed, and it is culturally embedded, say, in the entire Latino community. When I lived in New Mexico, I was making part of my living doing political consulting for candidates. And these people would come into my home, and I'd show them the Steven Seagal photos and the photos of me with Secretary Norm Mineta and Congressman Mike Honda, and pull out the whole show. I'm so influential and blah, 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 blah. And they'd be like, is that you and Cheech and Chong? And I'd be like, yeah. And they'd go, I'll listen to whatever you have to say. Just tell me what to do.
I have a great love of pot culture. I know that some people have a little bit of a problem because they're working so hard as medical marijuana activists.
Right.
And so it really does.
They get that stick up their ass
so often because goodness knows you're not supposed to like your medicine.
Right.
Exactly.
So, that opens a whole topic that opens a very important topic about health and about well-being, and it gets into the psychology of Hegel. Fun and laughter does heal. Enjoying yourself is important. If you need to write at a computer standing up while you're at work, why can't you write at a computer standing up at work? Why do you have to be in this, German psychologist invented cubicle? I don't know if you know who Hegel is, but he's this psychologists that invented the discomfort to create the idea that you are smaller than the system you're up against. So if you've got a big desk in front of you for a job interview and you're in a tiny, uncomfortable chair, that's Hegel. And that is madness to me. You talk to the greatest minds in learning and absorbing, and they will tell you, you study your neuroscience for 45 minutes, and then you take 15 minutes to go juggle. And for people to laugh at that, people, I think that one of the biggest reasons why cannabis, weed, marijuana, Mary Jane is greeted with
Scooby-Doo, don't forget that one. Scooby-Doo.
Yes, and the Scooby snacks are greeted with such dismay is that the most rebellious thing you can personally do is be happy.
Exactly.
Authority doesn't like it when you're enjoying yourself.
Right.
They like it when you're under pressure and feel their authority. Because if you're happy, you run the risk of saying, fuck you, Jack, I don't like the way you're running things.
Right. Right.
But on the other hand, if you are happy and enjoying yourself, and you do take the 15 minutes to juggle after studying your neuroscience, if studies have shown that increases your workload.
Yeah.
So something's got to give there, man.
Yeah.
And why not enjoy your medicine?
For sure.
I have a very rare anxiety disorder. And people don't notice it because, as you've probably ascertained, I'm highly social. I can handle people the way some people can handle bank accounts. And I worked as a professional psychic for over 20 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And I'll tell you a story about that, which is cannabis related. But
okay.
I have been in my business because I live my life on the double D list. So I'm a loudmouth, big-breasted woman. I have been assaulted over 16 times in my profession. So as a public figure, I'm putting myself out there for anywhere between 2 people late night at the Comedy Store at 1 a.m. to, a couple thousand people at the July 4th smoke-in. To be available, and you make someone feel good, they don't want to get off the ride, or you upset someone and they want to make certain that they never speak again.
Yep.
And I run the issue every time I go into comedy. Am I going to be hit? Will my tits be grabbed and shaken? And it is...
Gosh.
If I smoke the right sativa... And I like the strain. It doesn't sound very medical, but I love the strain Trainwreck.
Me too.
I'm very okay. I recognize, okay, that's a possibility, but I don't fret about it. It doesn't repeat in my head over and over again. I don't live in the terror of that anxiety.
Right.
And so that's important.
Right. Did you catch that recovery, Lori? It was like me at Parliament. What was I thinking?
But, when I went out for the job as a professional psychic, I was very young. I'm 43 now. I was 19 when I went out for this job. And I was an incredible smartass. And I said, okay, I've been acting. So
Are you kidding me?
I'll memorize these cards and these archetypes, and I'll bullshit my way through this job. Well, my buddy took me up on the roof before my job interview. The job interview consisted of reading my boss's cards, and he got me really high. Oh my gosh, mendacity. I loved this buzz. And I came back to the room to read my boss's cards. I had bought the Herbal Tarot set. How fitting for this show. And I'm reading the cards, and my little bullshit voice that I usually listen to in order to say the right thing to get out of not doing my algebra homework that day starts talking to me. And I'm telling this woman that the 9 of Sage means that there are actually 3 lawyers instead of 5 lawyers. And I'm like, wow, you know, you are really slinging the bullshit this time, Elizabeth. Hope you get hired, you know. Because I got really specific, and she went around the circle, and she was like, you can go. You're hired. You. And she points to me, you come to my office. And I'm like, oh. Buzz me, I am busted. She smells the weed. She's gonna get on me for smoking weed. I'm not gonna turn in my buddy. And she sits me down and she goes, what do you mean my husband has 5 lawyers instead of just the ones I know about? And you know, I was like, I don't really know. I thought I was bullshitting you. And she goes, please get on the phones right now. You're welcome to work in this office. And, you know, I found that continuing through this job as a psychic phone line. I started on a phone line. And I found that sativa, for whatever reason, assisted with the neurological connections and the neuroactivity that was necessary to do this.
Oh yeah, it helps to hook up those pathways really well.
Yes. And then we get into the, I'm sorry, please.
I was just going to say I do database design, and believe me, yeah, it works really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then we get into the area that MAPS .org is working on, the psychedelic community is working on, and we start talking about mushrooms growing new neural pathways. I mean,
ooh, my favorite.
I've seen several articles about that. Actually.
Give me mushrooms and a Grateful Dead show, and I will heal the sick.
I have one quick question for you, Elizabeth, about mushrooms. I've never done the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Would you try that?
I believe I have tried that in ceremony. Yeah, I was really fortunate. I started my psychedelic experience right before Dr. Timothy Leary died, and I got to do the psychedelic experience with him and a bunch of heads that were trained. I mean, and I'm very grateful for that because I entered it in a sacred ceremony and I understood the different stages that you would go through instead of, you know, just some Jane Doe who takes it to enjoy a concert and leaves herself open to all kinds of chaos. You know, there was
hanging on for dear life the entire time. You mean?
Right, exactly. Because you know, it really does. It really can take you through different levels of your subconscious that you may not be prepared to handle. But I do know this one case. I was out by the Joshua Tree for the Graham Nash music concert.
Nice.
And the female producer of that show had told me she had gotten into a car wreck, and all of the doctors said that she'd never be able to speak again, nor would she be able to touch her nose with her finger. When she would go to do that, her finger would only go to her shoulder. It would not get near her nose. And her talking was so disorderly that she could not make sense of what she was working to communicate. She went into a tent with a shaman and some shrooms, and she came back with full speech. Wow. And she was able to take her finger and touch the side of her nose.
Great.
Awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
And, you know, so if you're in the right, it's like, you know, I think it's very important that you be, you know, that everything be medical and attended. Like I did it in a sacred ceremony. And so I think I grew the right neural pathways with the 500 shamanic drummers playing, you know, the West African beats and people paying attention to what the proper amounts of vitamin C that's important. All of those things, the water that keeps you hydrated, all of those things are critical. But you know, you take a mushroom and you listen to, say, G.G. Allen in the middle in the middle of an industrial steam park, you know, you may walk away going, I talked to Satan. So You know, because all these neural pathways and neuroscience are tying into quantum physics, and who knows what goes on. I was able to pull stuff from the psychic line, people on the phone saying, you know, I think you sell satellites. Yes, I do sell satellites. How did, you know, we were just putting our minds together in the same frame, but we were able to pull that. So, you know, and I'm quite frankly, while I'm into it, the medical marijuana fight. I am bored with the medical marijuana fight.
Me too. It's the mushroom
I'm bored
fight
with
now.
it too.
Yes.
We're moving on. I know.
Yeah, well, I'd like to move on, but the turgid bureaucracy
There's still work within the cannabis movement left to do. That's the thing. There's still lots of work for everybody.
Yes.
So, Al is saying he wants to take a break.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think we should. We've been yapping for a while.
And I want to ask Justin a few more questions.
Oh, I definitely want to ask. I've got a couple questions that I'd like to ask Justin as well. And yeah, we're going to take a little break here. And before we go, I got to say happy birthday to Jess.
Aww.
And just trying to find my stuff here. So I'm umming and ahhing. Jesus. Stupid 1970s mouse.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to listen. We're going to take a break. We're going to listen to the news that Jess has done. And we're going to listen to some Jack White. And we're going to have a pee and have some munchies. And then we're going to be back with Elizabeth and Justin to talk some more about weed on the 420 radio show. We'll be back. Yeah. We'll be back in a minute.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
It's June the 11th, 2014. I'm Peter speaking for 420 Jess, and this is the news on the 420 radio show. In Montreal, WCAX.com reports, the search widened Sunday for 3 inmates who escaped with the help of a helicopter from a detention center in Quebec City a day earlier. It was the second helicopter-aided inmate escape in Quebec province in 2 years. The 3 men escaped from the Orsainville detention center in suburban Quebec City around 7:45 p.m. Saturday with the help of a green-colored helicopter. The chopper landed in the courtyard of the detention center, which has barbed wire fencing and a watch post, and then quickly took off with the 3 inmates, heading west toward Montreal, police said. Authorities were put on alert across Quebec, in the rest of Canada, and in the United States, according to provincial police. We have cooperation with all the police forces across the country and abroad also, said Sergeant Gregory Gomez. We have many officers who are scattering all the areas possible. Investigators are, of course, checking every lead. Police were reluctant to provide many details about their investigation for fear the escapees could be monitoring media reports. The escapees were originally arrested on drug trafficking and gangsterism charges in 2010, according to police. Dennis and Lifber were subsequently charged with murder, according to the Quebec Provincial Police website. Police said the men were swept up in a major 2010 police operation dubbed Project Crayfish, aimed at bringing down a drug trafficking ring in northwestern Quebec. During the raid, police made 51 arrests along with money and drugs, police said. They also seized a plane and a helicopter. The status of the men's cases in the court system was not immediately clear. Provincial jails in Canada normally house people awaiting trial or those serving sentences of up to 2 years. Police released photos of the 3 men on social media and appealed to the public for help, but warned anyone who spotted them not to approach and immediately contact police. Audrey-Anne Bilodeau, another police spokeswoman, said Saturday that police were working with surrounding airports and Quebec's Valcartier military base to help track down the helicopter. The Orsainville Detention Center, about 10 kilometers from the center of Quebec City, can hold up to 710 offenders. An online report from the Joint Blog reports, a new study published ahead of print by Neuropsychopharmacology, the official publication of the American College of Neuropsychopharmacology, has determined that cannabinoids can help treat, or even prevent, the effects of PTSD. Scientists from the Department of Psychology of the University of Haifa in Israel examined rat models suffering from shock-induced PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. The rats were each given an injection of either a cannabinoid receptor agonist, a substance that mimics the effects of cannabis, or a controlled placebo 2 hours after the shock. After a week, the scientists examined the rats and found that the initial shock coupled with situational reminders of the trauma caused lasting alterations in emotional processing in the mice, as well as impaired extinction of the traumatic event, lasting fear, enhanced latency to startle, impaired plasticity in the hippocampal accumbens pathway, and altered expression of CB1 receptors and glucocorticoid receptors in multiple areas of the brain. Results for the rats that had been given the cannabinoid agonist showed that the agonist prevented the effects the shock had on emotional processing, extinction, plasticity and startle response, and corrected abnormalities in the CA1 and frontal cortex areas of the brain. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects roughly 7.7 million adults in the United States, and symptoms can range from insomnia, depression and anxiety to flashbacks, self-destructive behavior and even suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And in the U.S., the Boston Globe reports, Drug Enforcement Administration investigators have visited the homes and offices of Massachusetts physicians involved with medical marijuana dispensaries and delivered an ultimatum: sever all ties to marijuana companies, or relinquish federal licenses to prescribe certain medications, according to several physicians and their attorneys. The stark choice is necessary, the doctors said they were told, because of friction between federal law, which bans any use of marijuana, and state law, which voters changed in 2012 to allow medical use of the drug. The Doe's action has left some doctors, whose livelihoods depend on being able to offer patients pain medications and other drugs, with little option but to resign from the marijuana companies, where some held prominent positions. The Globe this week identified at least 3 doctors contacted by DEA investigators, although there may be more. Here are your options. Dr. Samuel Mazur said he was told by a DEA investigator from the New England Division Office. You either give up your license or give up your position on the board, or you challenge it in court. Mazur, chief executive of Debilitating Medical Conditions Treatment Centers, which won preliminary state approval to open a dispensary in Holyoke, said the Doe investigators' visit came shortly after state regulators announced the first 20 applicants approved for provisional licenses for medical marijuana dispensaries. Mazur said he returned from vacation in February to find a Doe business card on the door to his home and several messages on his answering machine urging him to contact the agency immediately. The quiet DEA crackdown comes even as the U.S. House of Representatives approved a measure last week that would restrict the DEA from raiding medical marijuana operations in states where it is legal. Senate action is pending. Tensions between federal and state officials have flared as 22 states, including Massachusetts, have legalized medical marijuana, many since 2010. A spokesman for the DEA in Boston on Wednesday referred calls to agency headquarters in Washington. A DEA spokeswoman in Washington declined to answer questions Thursday about the doctors' assertions that they are being asked to choose between their drug prescribing licenses and their ties to dispensaries. The spokeswoman would not say whether the action in Massachusetts is part of a national policy or limited to the state. Physicians, dentists, and other health care providers who prescribe or administer narcotics and other controlled substances are required to register with the DEA, which tracks use of the drugs and strips federal licenses of those who fraudulently prescribe the medications. At least 2 physicians resigned their medical officer positions with planned medical marijuana dispensaries in the past 2 weeks after visits from the DEA in Denver. 9 News tells us, in a move that could threaten the state's entire legal marijuana system. A Colorado lawyer claims that requiring pot companies to pay taxes violates the United States Constitution. Attorney Rob Corey is asking the Denver District Court to block marijuana taxes in Colorado. With the lawsuit, Colorado's tax system violates the Fifth Amendment, which protects people from self-incrimination. Corey argues that when marijuana growers and sellers pay their taxes, they effectively incriminate themselves under federal law, which still bans marijuana. Corey says he's concerned that the taxes on pot are so heavy that they undermine the goal of legalizing the drug in the first place. It's pretty clear that the black market never going to go away with these taxes, said Corey, who is seeking a preliminary injunction to block the state from collecting tax on pot as part of his case. If the injunction is denied, Corey tells 9 News he'll advise pot shops to stop paying their taxes, a move that would likely prompt the state to suspend their retail licenses. Supporters and opponents of the lawsuit agree that the case threatens the entire state-sanctioned marijuana industry, not just the shops Corey represents. The lawsuit invokes the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, arguing federal law is supreme over, and preempts, state or local law. A strict interpretation of that argument could pave the way for Colorado's own court system to find its state system for selling pot illegal. Corey called it an outside chance, but didn't seem concerned at the possibility. In my mind, overtaxation is just as bad as prohibition, Corey told 9 News. Other pro-marijuana attorneys tell 9 News they are studying the suit, concerned about the wider impact it could have. It is a bit of a reckless argument, said Brian Vicent, a prominent lawyer on marijuana issues. There's a small chance that a judge may decide to follow through on the Supremacy Clause and question the validity of this program. We think that's a very marginal chance at best. The state attorney general's office scoffed at the lawsuit. Mr. Corey's claims are bizarre and lack legal and logical consistency, said Carolyn Tiller, spokesperson for Attorney General John Suthers. We will aggressively defend the state against any legal challenge. Corey, who has had his own legal troubles with marijuana, is used to butting heads with government officials and even other pro-marijuana activists. He made headlines for handing out free joints as part of his fierce opposition to the 2013 ballot question which enacted state taxes on marijuana, a move critics say resulted in more scrutiny and stricter local regulations of marijuana from the city of Denver. Opponents of the tax question were upset that lawmakers included a sales tax not originally envisioned by Amendment 64, but Colorado voters approved the amendment by a 2-to-1 margin. In Spain, the local tells us, a cannabis club in Barcelona has been closed down for suspected drug dealing, the first closure of its kind in what could be a blow to the city's growing reputation as a hub for marijuana tourism. The club in the city's Ciudad Vela district was shut down after police officers spotted a man approaching tourists and taking them to the club to buy drugs. Later inspections of the premises revealed marijuana packaged for sale, a price list for the drug and a set of scales. All of this meant the club was breaking the law. In Spain, it is illegal to traffic cannabis, and smoking in public places could mean a stiff fine. On the other hand, it's legal to grow cannabis for personal use and smoke it in private. Barcelona's popular cannabis clubs have made use of this legal grey zone and are tolerated by authorities as long as they don't actually operate as a business. And the Libya Herald reports, 2 major drugs busts in the last 48 hours have netted police and customs officials around 15 tons of hashish. The first discovery was made yesterday on a Liberian-flagged container vessel docked in Benghazi. Police, acting on a tip-off, searched 3 refrigerated containers and found around 5 tons of cannabis. It is not yet clear where the containers were loaded. The vessel, which has not been named, reportedly last called at Malta. In the second bust today at Combs, the local CID with members of the public prosecutor's office swooped on a vessel identified as the Miss Regensburg which had arrived from Senegal. Sniffer dogs were used to detect containers where the drugs had been hidden, at the bottom of crates loaded with vegetables and fruits, including watermelons. The haul of around 10 tons is one of the largest made in the recent campaign against drug smuggling. It is alleged that the crates were to be delivered to a local food importer. Both consignments of cannabis are to be destroyed in front of the public prosecutors. And back home in the UK, ITV says, Border Force officers at the Channel Tunnel entrance in Coquelles, France seized approximately 2 tons of cannabis resin. The drugs, which have an estimated street value of £5 million, were found on Thursday, when officers stopped and searched a Spanish-registered lorry and its load of furniture. Francisco Javier Santiago Solara, 43, appeared at Canterbury Magistrates Court on Friday charged with the importation. He pleaded not guilty, and was remanded in custody. He will next appear at Canterbury Crown Court on the 23rd of June. And on the other side of the planet, the West Australian reports, the Abbott government won't be forcing people on unemployment benefits to submit to random drugs tests. Social Services Minister Kevin Andrews sparked speculation about the potential drug testing for the dole scheme by refusing to rule it out at the weekend. But after Prime Minister Tony Abbott made it clear he was cool on the proposal, Mr. Andrews now says it is off the table. It's out, he told ABC Radio on Monday. The decision will disappoint coalition backbencher George Christensen, who believes the measure would help prevent taxpayer dollars being used to fund people's drug habits. It could be a simple random drug testing process done with swabs at the local Centrelink office, Mr. Christensen told the ABC on Monday. It wouldn't necessarily be an overly onerous system, he says. If you're doing it in a random way, it doesn't have to be costly. He says it's about more than just saving money, it's also about ensuring the integrity of the welfare system and making people more job ready. And he says he'd be happy to set an example by undergoing tests himself. I'd be happy to support that. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. It might make a few Greens MPs nervous, but it wouldn't make me worried at all. Former Mission Australia Chief Executive Patrick McClure is currently conducting a major review of the welfare system for the government. And just when you think you heard everything, the Daily Liberal gives us a new one. A man who smeared Vegemite in a plastic bag in an attempt to disguise the smell of cannabis has appeared in Dubbo local court on a charge of possessing a prohibited drug. Daniel Paul Kelly pleaded guilty when he represented himself before Magistrate Janet Stevenson. The 36-year-old from Lightning Ridge was stopped by police at Dubbo railway station at 10:30 a.m. on April the 16th. Prosecution facts tendered to the court said police drug dog, Beeve, detected an illegal substance in a duffel bag being carried by Kelly. Police said a small amount of Vegemite had been placed in a plastic bag containing 2 grams of cannabis. Kelly told officers, "I put it there so you fellas wouldn't smell the pot." The court heard Kelly had no prior record. "It is your choice to use the drug," Magistrate Stevenson said. "Cannabis is illegal and penalties will flow." Magistrate Stevenson did not proceed to a conviction but warned Kelly he would be convicted and fined if police picked him up again. She ordered the drug seized by police to be destroyed. This has been your weekly news report on the 420 radio show, and we're wishing you cannabis feels forever.
Ever wondered what's in your prescription medications? Ever noticed the long list of side effects that most medications come with? Even listing risk of death? Does it make sense to put something into your body that could cause death while you only strive to be healthy? Prescription medications do not work for everyone, and most have serious side effects, causing your supplies of prescriptions to increase for treating symptoms that other medications cause. Fortunately for Canadians, Health Canada provides a safe, natural alternative for you. At the turn of the 20th century, cannabis was the most widely used medicine in the world, with over 5,000 years of recorded use and not one single recorded death. It has been used successfully for a number of conditions due to the unique medicinal qualities of the natural plant. In 2000, Health Canada approved the medicinal use of cannabis for a wide range of conditions to improve the lives of Canadians. Side effects of cannabis may include increased appetite, dry mouth, euphoria, or drowsiness. As with any medication, care must be taken when initially treating conditions with cannabis until the proper dose is established. Cannabis may not be for everyone, but it may be a healthy alternative for you. Talk to your doctor or contact us online at
endocannabinoid. Like anybody who watches it, it's going to be very apparent, that this medicine is really achieving some amazing things.
We were just talking about Weed the People off there, and then we just clicked on air. So, we were just Weed the People. Actually, they just started following the show on Twitter. The producer. So I'm going to try.
Excellent.
I'm going to try and get in contact with them. I mean, obviously, I would love to have Ricky on the show, but not because she's Ricky, but more so because I've seen clips of this, and it's so personally done, eh?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need faces on the medicine.
It's nice to see these high, well-known celebrities getting literally high.
There's a good chance they're compassionate too.
But they're getting they're helping bring the exposure to the forefront a little quicker than little rinky-dink shows like this could,
Oh yeah, and so many of us have been in the weed closet for so long too.
Just think about what Chong did for Rick Simpson.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That propelled Rick Simpson.
Now, speaking of Rick Simpson, I've had the pleasure of having Rick on the show a couple of times now. He's a great man to talk to, and just I think a lot of people have a different idea as to who he is, and I'm sure you've gotten to know him quite well, Justin.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I kind of if somebody was going to ask me what I thought of Rick Simpson, I would have to say Grandpa.
Yeah.
Now you have tried to continue his work and help along with that and do your part. You're concentrating in extracts and stuff like that, right?
Yes, I focus on, publicizing the information. I also help patients acquire oil, but mainly I, have been promoting and publicizing and sharing this information because, all these people are doing these great things, but, there really hasn't been, obviously mainstream awareness about it. So I've just been doing what I can to help more people learn about it. And CannabisExtractReport.com has, it seems like it's doing a pretty good job. And to this day, there is no other single resource out there, on a single page that has, all the information in one place.
That's amazing, man. I've heard a lot of good things about you. Last time you were on the show, I think, Jess, you were with us, or was it Chris that was with us?
No, it wasn't me. It must have been Chris.
I think it was Chris that was with us. And I got to tell you, brother, everybody was blown away by your knowledge, the way you vocalize what you're trying to get across. I'm not big on the scientific side of things. I'm at this point 50 years old with a lot of different things wrong, and I just want my fucking medicine. And so when I hear all these scientific terms and all that, I tend to take a step back and go, whoa, wait a minute. I want to hear some layman's terms here. So I was wondering if you could indulge me for a minute. I have type 2 diabetes. I've had it now for about 4 years, and I control it with 2 pills a day. Thank God. I've been told by several people, both including Lori and Jess, that one of the reasons why I'm able to control it is probably because of the mass amounts of cannabis that I ingest and use on a daily basis. Now, I've also been told by people who see me on a regular basis that when I don't have my cannabis, I'm a grumpy fucking asshole. I've been told, we were talking about this a little bit on our break, but I've been told that quite easily the maintenance dose could help me get to the point where I don't need it at all. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think
you don't need your medications, like your traditional medications?
Yeah. I'd like to get to the point where I don't have to take any metformin at all.
I definitely believe that you can get there.
Yeah, I concur. Along with probably, dietary adjustments that go along with it.
So, I mean, I can't eat any cheeseburgers and shit anymore?
Easier to achieve by consuming higher doses.
I had the chance of having a month's worth of RSO. And I tell you, there was a little bit of a getting used to it. But then once I got used to it, I felt like I was 20 years old.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sometimes when you're in that downward spiral, it gives you that extra kick. You just need to get going. Sometimes people just can't get going. If they could, they would keep going. Right. And so I always found that it's good for that. Maybe I do need more exercise, or maybe I do need to control what I'm consuming more, but finding the willpower to do that and the extra kick in the ass came from cannabis.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I know there's been times when I've been really depressed and just kind of couching it and staring at the TV for days, and then somebody comes in and lights up a doobie, and I'm like, woo, how you doing?
We were talking off the air there with Justin about the effects of high dosages and how we've seen it. I think Justin agreed that he's seen it positively affect people with type 2 diabetes too. So.
Well, I know it helps. I know it helps my depression, which quashes my stress, which keeps my levels. So
I'd like to just say to Justin, thank you very much for I don't know if it was the last time you were with us, the time when we discussed. I have to say, when you were talking about homeostasis and your theory behind how the extract works and the cannabinoid deficiencies and all that, it was like all of a sudden all kinds of shit in my brain just fell right into place. And now when people say to me, oh, well, there's no way it can work on so many different things, I fall back to that, because that is the reason and the basis for which and the only way that makes sense that it can address so many different issues, so many different symptoms, so many different
acting as a regulator
diseases.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for all your other systems, right?
So Justin, can you just restate what it was in a nutshell that you said that time for everybody?
Yeah, I would actually love to quickly go over what seems to be the basis behind why cannabis seems to work against so many conditions. So
we will mute our
it's been brought up that all humans, and not just humans, but all vertebrates have endocannabinoid systems, which is comprised of a network of cannabinoid receptors and endocannabinoids, which includes anandamide and 2-AG or 2-arachidonoglycerol. And this system emerged very early in evolution, 600 million years ago. It was like in sea skirts or something, where this endocannabinoid system started to evolve, and its purpose seems to be because, once life got to a certain point in evolution, things started becoming more complex, and there needed to be some kind of system to connect the other systems together. So with the endocannabinoid system, its role seems to be to maintain systemic homeostasis. So it maintains, an internal stable environment and balance in all body systems, cardiovascular, nervous, endocrine, Just everything, is controlled ultimately by the endocannabinoid system and is maintained in balance. So if you think of any disease as, falling out of homeostasis and that kind of imbalance, and then the endocannabinoid system restoring homeostasis, then, that makes sense why it would affect so many diseases. But another thing that I really think is at the heart of things is postsynaptic feedback. Because when cells communicate, the presynaptic cell sends a message to the postsynaptic cell. But what endocannabinoids do is they complete the circuit by our 2-AG specifically is synthesized on demand at the postsynaptic cell. So once it receives a message, it creates 2-AG. It sends that molecule back upstream to the presynaptic cell to get feedback. So like in the case of something like multiple sclerosis, that presynaptic cell might be firing too quickly. And then, you get like spasms and such. But then when you put in cannabinoids, then that takes over that role of the postsynaptic feedback. The postsynaptic cell can give feedback and say, hey, you're firing too quickly, slow down, and then the problem corrects itself. And I think that is really at the heart of so many diseases, that when the body can communicate properly, it can heal anything. And that's, it's all just theory, but based on what I've seen with all these diseases being essentially put into remission with cannabis extract therapy, this postsynaptic feedback and homeostasis theory, it explains everything. It's like none of this is coming out of nowhere. Everything has a very sound scientific basis to it, and it's completely supported by the anecdotal evidence.
Now, can you do me a huge favor, please? Yeah. Very good, Jess. Now, would you do me a huge favor now? Can you repeat that slowly for somebody who's just not very scientific, if you wouldn't mind?
Or type it out and send it to me so I can put it on our website, even better.
Well, so in short, the endocannabinoid system is the super regulatory system of the body. The cannabinoid receptors and endocannabinoids, which are, cannabinoid-like molecules produced by the body, very similar to THC and CBD. Okay. They maintain homeostasis throughout the body through a wide variety of mechanisms, the chief of which I believe is postsynaptic feedback, so that cells can communicate both ways. Okay. Another really great analogy for that is in computer networking. When computers talk to each other, the receiving terminal will send an ACK or a NAC signal back, which is acknowledgement or negative acknowledgement. Yeah. So, if you send a message to someone and it doesn't go through, then the receiving terminal will send a negative acknowledgement signal saying that message didn't go through. And you can imagine that if that didn't exist, if there was no, response, then, no messages would get through, the internet wouldn't work, everything would just break apart. But when there is feedback, then everything works perfect. You have the internet, networking works. So basically, endocannabinoids seem to be that role of completing the circuit of communication. And when the body communicates, it can recognize cancer cells, it can recognize autoimmune disorders like, lupus, MS, fibromyalgia. These are all autoimmune disorders where the body does not communicating correctly, where it is attacking itself. And then you give cannabinoids, suddenly everything's talking together again, and the body just starts working. It really is the perfect medicine for the human body.
Yay!
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Well, you're still here.
So no, I'm here too. I got a phone call, and that's why I was just listening. So continue talking.
Now I'm back.
There's another thing I would like to really point out quickly about cancer, because there's all this evidence the human body is programmed to have cannabinoids kill cancer cells. For one, endocannabinoids, like in man, also kill cancer cells. So, if you put THC in your body, and there's already a chemical very similar to THC killing cancer cells in your body right now, it just makes sense that this is going to work, which is, the number one refute that I hear is that, THC kills cancer cells in the lab, but, the human body is so much more complex, it probably wouldn't work in the body. My response is no, it should work better in the human body than in culture cells because we have a receptor system that is programmed to use it. And it's not just that endocannabinoids kill cancer cells, but there are many types of cancer cells that have larger expression levels of cannabinoid receptors than healthy cells, which would indicate that it's a possible defense mechanism against cancer. The body has many innate defense mechanisms to stop cancer from spreading. So one of them could be, if a healthy cell becomes cancerous, it would be programmed to develop more cannabinoid receptors so that the natural anandamide in the body would, floating around would latch onto that receptor and trigger apoptosis. And so many diseases are thought to be cannabinoid deficiency. So by supplementing the body with cannabinoids, it will both, help supplement that postsynaptic feedback process and, do the same roles as the endocannabinoids. So like with cancer, if you flood your body with THC, that also kills cancer cells like anandamide, it makes sense that, it would work very well. And that's what we are seeing, these, stunning results, very quick remissions, very quick results. And that, just makes sense that if the body was programmed to have cannabinoids kill cancer cells, like the study suggests, you would see results like that. It just makes so much sense. And I'm just boggled that people, are still so resistant to it when the evidence is just so strong.
Well, that's it. It's like the cannabinoids are assisting your body to battle the cancer on its own, rather than, like, it never ever made sense to me that, oh, you have cancer, here, let's destroy your immune system.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me
so
sick
we can
even
hack
to
around
hear that.
And see what the hell we can do. It made no sense to me whatsoever.
Just the fact that you can that somebody even says something like that, it just makes me sick. That they've got to rip you down to bring you back up.
Yeah.
Why not bring you back
it
up
doesn't make
to
sense.
bring you
We've
back
gone
up?
down the wrong path as humanity in terms of medicine.
Yeah.
When you see people on chemotherapy, like the chemo doing that to people, making you lose your hair and get sick and throw up, like it's clearly not the right way to go. And that's all cancer, research right now is on. It's not on, different types of chemotherapy. It's just, like more of it's, still the same path. Like, and that path is simply wrong. Single chemicals, the human body did not evolve to process, chemotherapy or any single chemical. That's why you have all these side effects. All organisms evolved eating foods that have hundreds of compounds in it. When you put a single molecule into your body, it usually isn't going to respond well, and that's what you see with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, exactly. They're synthetic things that don't belong there, never were there, and yeah, exactly. It's your body fighting back against what it is that they're giving you to, quote unquote, heal you.
Exactly.
It does work in some cases, though, doesn't it?
Well,
I'll give you a case. I'll give you a case in point. Okay, a very good friend of mine had Hep C, lived with it for years and years and years. Got it from a blood transfusion. Smoked cannabis when he could get it, and it did help him, but he wasn't an avid smoker. He decided to take the step and go for chemoradiation treatment or whatever the treatment is to reverse and get rid of the Hep C. And it worked for him after, 8 months of like excruciating pain and grossness and throwing up. And he lives 3 hours from any hospital that can, get medicines to him and stuff like that. So it's all shipped to him and stuff. But then if he had just gone on the oil,
I have to say, okay, I don't have a medical degree. I've been sick off and on most of my life, but I have some common sense, okay? And common sense would dictate to me that if you look at what happens and people get a cancer and then they get chemotherapy or radiation or it hacked out or whatever the hell they do with it, or any of the above, all combination of the three, and then they get another cancer in a different location. What Justin is saying makes more sense to me than anything I've ever heard, because if you are having something present as cancerous repeatedly in different locations, it would tend to make me think it's something within your body that's doing it. It's not that particular site. Okay? So if you have something that may show you have a predisposition to developing, say, breast cancer, and you go and you have every bit of muscle tissue removed off your chest because you may have a predisposition
Is that
to that
like the
future.
thing? Is that the thing
Angelina
that?
Jolie.
Yeah. Angelina Jolie did that. Yeah.
What's stopping that predisposition from popping up somewhere else?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of women chatting about that subject, though. I
seriously believe that what Justin said, nothing. I think it's you have to treat it systemically rather than locally as, oh look, there's a bump.
But the women who are doing what Angelina Jolie did are just saying they're being proactive because it runs in the family and they have the gene.
Yeah, a gene that could
or could not.
Could come into her uterus, or it could come into her ovaries, or it could come into somewhere else.
But isn't
my
this?
My mom had kidney cancer. Okay.
Yeah.
She had a kidney removed because they said that when she had her back pain, they did X-rays and it was gone. So they had to remove what was left, but the other one was fine. And so she went through, you go for your exams every 6 months, and it's every year. And 18 years later, guess what? She had, we went through everything. They came to her in March and said, you don't have TB, and you don't have lung cancer, and you don't have histoplasmosis, and you don't have any of these things in March. But in May, she was dying with metastatic cancer in her lungs. But I guess it's because renal cancer, once it moves to your lungs, doesn't look like lung cancer. Then when they took the chunk of the lung, they went, it's not lung cancer? How absurd is that?
So,
that's crazy.
Here's the thing, because we really only touched on the topic of high dosages. And probably what Justin notices as well as I do is that when you get to those very high doses of a gram or more a day, that you can cure diseases, especially cancer has been probably proven more than most. So the thing is that there is a large group of people who cannot get to those high dosages. There's what I think it's a 1% group, which is enough. That's a large amount of people to me. Because there's a lot of cancer patients here in Nova Scotia. I don't know about anywhere else. And that who can't get to those high dosages and who have opted for chemo and cured their cancer, but still continue to do low dosages of cannabis and, continue to ward off any future. And I'm not going to say never, ever, ever do chemo, because there's new chemos coming out and they do this. What chemo does and radiation does and what cannabis does is it's all ceramide production. And so whether it's from a synthetic substance or whether it's a natural substance, it's better than not treating it if it's an aggressive thing. And so I want to be careful about saying never ever do chemo, because there's a new chemo called Tarceva that just cured somebody I know.
I say never ever do chemo.
He wasn't sick and he didn't suffer. And now he's quite healthy, and he's still continuing to use cannabis, what we call a maintenance dose, which is what we suggest to everybody even after they've cured their cancer.
So how much is the maintenance dose?
Oh, that's a good topic that we should talk about.
And what would that cost?
People always say how much, and the answer is always it's totally dependent on the patient, and everybody should be treated as an individual. So start at a very low dose, and if you're already taking cannabis, then maybe a maintenance dose would be. My suggestion might be. Let me rephrase that. If it were me, I would stop taking it four times a day at that high level, which would be at least a quarter gram of cannabis oil 4 times a day, but I would just switch it to the bedtime dose.
Now, is that undiluted with anything, or just flat out?
I always mix all cannabis with coconut oil,
Okay.
and I do
Excellent.
I knew that.
I do believe that it's better than hemp oil. I'm sorry, and it's only because of processing, not for any other reason. But it's equal nutritionally.
But it also coconut oil. It has some medicinal
fat.
Yeah, it has some medicinal value itself.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a saturated fat in a non-animal form is
right, and hemp seed oil is 84% non-saturated.
And
it's mainly polyunsaturated, omega-6 and omega-3.
Right. So I'm not downplaying hemp oil. I'm just saying that I recommend cannabis.
Well, yeah. And any of us that use hemp seed oil, it's cold pressed hemp seed oil.
Right. Yep.
Can you explain what that means? Explain what that means,
It's actually
please.
twice the cost of the coconut oil, eh?
What would you recommend, Justin?
One sec, Laurie. And 1 sec. Can you explain what cold press means, please, first?
Cold pressed hemp seed oil means that the process used to produce the oil from the hemp seeds is a cold press rather than heating it.
Okay.
Because heating it reduces or destroys the omega-3 and 6 fatty acids.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now you can continue. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin. So what would you recommend?
So in terms of like a regimen, I think that it's great to have a lot of hemp seed oil in your diet in general because omega-3s have been shown to be essentially the foundation of the endocannabinoid system, both the receptors and the endocannabinoids themselves. But for mixing cannabis oil directly with another oil, I believe coconut oil is better because cannabinoids are fat soluble and saturated fat. It seems to just dilute better into it. And I've heard of the cases where people have combined it with coconut oil. It seems to increase the bioavailability and increase the time that it takes to metabolize the cannabinoid so that it's in your system longer. Go on.
I just want to say I also noticed patients that they notice less of an up and down in their high when they mix it with coconut oil.
That would make sense.
I've had both. I've had the chance of trying both, and I got to say that I didn't feel as queasy with the coconut oil.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what about a maintenance dose, Justin? What do you think that would be considered?
I think 0.1 to 0.2 grams every day or every other day would be good. I definitely think it's important to keep ingesting it. I don't believe that smoking would be an adequate maintenance dose because you're overheating the cannabis. You're processing it through your lungs instead of the digestive system. But I really don't believe that you need much. And I believe that in the future, everybody will be able to take large quantities of high CBD oil and raw cannabis medicine like THCA and CBDA, which have no psychoactive effects, so people can take them whenever they want. And I do believe that it will eventually be proven that raw cannabinoids like THC acid and CBD acid will be better for treating cancers and other diseases than decarboxylated THC.
Jameson has
people having trouble working up to the right dosage because of the psychoactivity. I think that's on its way out.
Jameson has already said they're going to jump into that market.
Right.
They do a lot of herbal stuff, right? Jameson. What is it? Jameson. I don't know the whole name of their company, but I read an article. They said that they are going to jump into the cannabis market.
Yeah, they do a lot of supplements.
Yeah.
Not the good supplements, though, the cheap, crappy supplements.
The CEO, the fellow that's been CEO of Jameson for the last 21 years.
Thanks.
Just,
I needed some of that stuff. No, I'm kidding, Jess. Sorry, what was that, Laurie?
I said the fellow who's been the CEO of Jameson for the last 21 years has just moved over to a cannabis company here in Canada.
Okay. Yeah. I was just using them as a reference. I mean, there's a lot of companies that are coming out with their own versions of this and that, right? What are you laughing at, Jess?
I sampled a bubble gum at the Safe Access Now conference that was absolutely amazing. It helped every muscle in my body relax. It was just lovely.
I have hard candies that Same sort of thing.
I've had candies and I really enjoyed them. Yeah, and cookies too. Like I mean, I'm love. Somebody's never sent me them yet.
You know what? The guy that makes our truffles doesn't like me anymore. Darn it.
Oh God.
Darn it. And I told him, the fact that you don't like me shouldn't affect the fact that you make truffles for all these sick people. But
buttercreams. Buttercreams work really good too, eh?
I gotta try that.
We made some medicated butter tarts last year sometime, and they were.
I made Christmas candy, right? So there's chocolate truffles and maple walnut buttercreams and orange buttercreams.
So
it's a good thing it's my birthday and I have all this cake here. I'm telling you, because I get so much.
People keep bringing you cake.
I got a cupcake daisy. I don't know.
Cool.
It's cool though. It's really cool.
So listen, folks. I wanted to give. We're getting close to the end of the show. I wanted to give everybody a chance to, chat about what they wanted to chat about, and I'd like to start with Justin and see if he wanted to add anything or update anything, and then we'll let Elizabeth talk about her visit at ASA in. Where was it? DC, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the DC conference.
Cool.
I was actually there too on Sunday. I wish I could have seen you there.
Dude, I had a smectabulous time. Do you have anything you want to plug? Because I'll move right into how much I support that organization.
I guess all I can really plug is cannabisextractreport.com, which I just updated again on June 2nd. If you everybody should read it. Just see how extensive this is, how many patients are reporting remissions with cannabis oils, all the rising names in this, like Dr. Raphael Mechoulam, who discovered THC, has called clinical trials of cannabis and cancer because of the weight of this evidence. Stephen DeAngelo, who runs the largest dispensary in the country, is reporting weekly skin cancer successes out of his establishment. There's Jeff Ditchfield, who is working with some of the leading researchers in Spain, Guillermo Velasco and Dr. Manuel Guzman, on a documentary called Project Storm, which follows 6 terminal cancer patients using cannabis oils to treat the cancers. And it goes really in depth into the science. Like, he is interviewing, the researchers. So that project is similar to the Phoenix 5 in that it actually tracks terminal cancer patients from start to finish. So people, just can see that this really does work. There's so much other stuff in it. I guarantee anybody who reads it, it is literally impossible to say that cannabis extracts have not worked against cancer in humans. Like, I've seen people try, and it's not pretty. Like, the evidence is just so overwhelming. It's very clear this works, and that we need to both research it and access it. We need to find what cannabinoid and terpenoid profiles work best against which diseases and which patient populations. And I really believe that research is going to take off soon, and that's what I'm fighting for.
Woohoo! Woo! And that's cannabisextractoils.com. Is that what I'm writing it down now?
Cannabisextractreport.com.
Cannabisextractreport.com.
I want to say I've been guilty of not reporting, and I'm going to, Justin, you've inspired me, and I'm going to hopefully inspire all our patients to report as well.
Woo!
Well, yeah, we should definitely stay in touch. I would certainly like the contact info of everybody on here. We can definitely, keep in touch.
I have to say, you sound very much like my partner, Chris Enns. Listening to you reminds me of listening to him. Sometimes we have to listen very hard.
And because they both talk so fast.
We're so grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Justin, and you're welcome anytime. I would love to, since we're talking about success stories, I would love for patients to call in and tell us their success stories. We're going to do that sometime really soon.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have a whole show just for that.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Speaking of success stories, the ASA conference that Justin and I were both at. Justin, you may have missed me because I was constantly in the hospitality room 315 with the vaporizers.
I'm pretty sure that I was in there a couple times.
Either that or I was down at the bar talking to the first financer, the primary financer of Americans for Safe Access. She can go to safeaccess.now or safeaccessnow.org. This is my favorite cannabis lobby, and I love them all. I love the Marijuana Project policy. I love the Students for Sensible Drug policy. But what really touched me about the ASA organization is that they flew in people from around the country who are making a difference in cannabis that could not afford to come to Washington, D.C. And they invited people. They had a very reasonable entrance fee to this conference, and people came from all around the country who have never stood up for their rights before. And the ASA folks taught these people how to lobby. We socialized, we partied, there were different teach-ins all week, there were different discussions and topics, but the highlight and the climax of this conference was that you learned how to go on Capitol Hill and have your voice be heard door to door. And I think that is absolutely invaluable in this movement. And critical because you have so many people discovering so many personal experiences and people feel so intimidated by the legal system. And Don and his crew at safeaccessnow.org took the fear right out of it, and it was a beautiful thing to see.
Excellent. Wow.
Other than that, I've got a couple things to suggest to people entertainment-wise. There's a really good podcast session out of LA that's run by Don Adams and April O'Connor that would complement this podcast session, and I suggest some schmoozing among the two. It's called The Session, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out the reason for being there because I'm a workaholic Washingtonian, and really it was there to eat the edibles and get as high as possible without losing the mind. And I kept saying, yes, but what is the agenda? What is the agenda? And they're like, shut up and taste the cookie. And I'm like, peanut butter. And they're like, yes, that is the agenda. But it was really fun. You can follow them at the Session Podcast on Twitter. June 28th on a Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Haywood Turnipseed Jr., another weed warrior in the world of comedy, will be joining me, Ryan Schutt and Lars Loving for another DCMJ fundraiser comedy show. We'll be doing another one Friday, July 11th. But for the Canadian crew that's listening, I want to tell you that comic Ryan Schutt is coming your way for the North by Northeast Festival, which is the South by Southwest Festival here in the United States, Austin, Texas. It's its sister program.
Right.
And Ryan will be there June 9th through the 12th, I believe.
I think that's in Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah, it is, yes.
19th to the 21st, I correct myself. And he is someone thank you for the rim shot.
Hey, we're a full show here, Come on.
And then every year we have an activist that, he doesn't necessarily broadcast himself, but he has been every year the founder and organizer for our July 4th smoke-in. And every year on July 4th at around 11 a.m., we gather in front of the White House for a pro-legalization rally, and it's John Pilka that organizes this, and he brings in folks from all over the world that want to participate, and we have a speak out, and then we march down Constitution Avenue to a concert stage set up by Billy Beam, and his band, The Unfortunate Sons, and we throw down and have a huge concert. So anyone out there listening that potheads are just a bunch of lazy sit around and do nothings, we set up a full stage with giant stacked amps and a professional sound man.
And it's not easy.
And we throw a pre-concert until the fireworks begin.
Yeah, and speaking of concerts, Peace East is happening in Nova Scotia in Magnes Mines this year. It's a cannabis, we call it a Cannafest or a Meducation festival.
Meducation.
I love that. Meducation.
Pardon, Lord?
A Canna Camp Out.
Yeah,
Canna Camp
Out or 420 Festival. So this is our 5th year now, and we found a solid location. It's called Gittins Lodge, and it's in this little town called Magnes Mines. It's in the middle of a forest, so we can be as loud as we like for 3 days.
Oh, hey, man, I know a comic named...
Can we run around naked? That's what I want to know.
What was it? Say that again, Elizabeth?
I said I know a comic named Elizabeth Croydon that would kill to be on that bill.
We'll have to check. We'll have to talk. So, and yeah, we are trying to bring people from across the country, especially speakers about cannabis. So, if you want to come and just say shit for 15 minutes about cannabis and how it affected your life, we would love you to do that in between bands. That would be a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and we for sure, you can get in for free if you get up and speak. So or if you volunteer, that's another good way to get in for free. But it's only $30 at the door. We usually have about 20 DJs and about 5 or 6 bands and a couple of comedians.
Is Chris going to be performing, Jess?
I had a great time. I believe in rock and rollitics, Al, and this platform definitely suits that. If anyone would like to follow me on Twitter, I'm at eCroydon, CROY, because weed should be legal, DON. CROYDON.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
You can just put in my name, Elizabeth Croydon, in YouTube and catch some of my old works. And I got 2 movies sold into distribution this year, and I'm trying to figure out what my 4th movie is going to be.
Internet radio station about pot, just saying.
What's the date for PCs, Jess?
August 15th, 16th, and 17th. So that's the weekend during the Perseids meteor shower.
Ooh.
That's my 55th birthday.
Ooh.
Wow.
So, Jess, were you able to talk our buddy that does Repercussions Radio there to perform?
Oh, right, Chris.
Yeah.
I might have to just have to try to get to Nova Scotia.
Get him into a... The reason I'm bringing it up is because it's a really cool show on Friday nights at 10 o'clock here on Lifestyle
Radio.
Radio.
He's spinning as well. He promised me he would come. He's been in retirement for a little while other than online.
He just had a gig, didn't he?
He did?
I think he just had a gig.
To me that
I think he did. I think he mentioned he had one or he's going to be having one. What?
He sucks for not telling me. I only live.
Well, now, come on. Now, I said I believe he did, or he is about to.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I forgot.
Justin, as always, it is a pleasure, my friend. I would love to have you on the show more often, buddy.
Thank you.
And Elizabeth,
thanks for joining us, Justin.
Finally a pleasure to chat. We've been chatting on Twitter for a little while now, Elizabeth and I.
I've really enjoyed the news items that you choose to put out on Twitter. I think what you're doing is vital, Al. I would love to be invited back. It was a delight to meet Justin and to schmooze with everybody. I think that the community of cannabis needs to come together because weed are the world. Weed are the people.
Weed are the people.
Weed are
the people. Let's all grab our hands together and sing Kumbaya.
Amen and a women. I'll sing Kumbaya if you get me high enough. I'll even go into a hug circle.
Sounds like a challenge accepted.
Really?
And on that
August
note,
15th in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, the beat down.
All right. All right.
Put the dabs down.
It has been a slice, folks.
Move away from the ball.
We're gonna.
Thank you all for joining us. I love this couple hours every week. I look forward to it.
Jess has the giggles today.
I can't wait to smell your plants.
Oh.
Especially after the rain. I've got some friends in Guelph. I'm a big fan of Night of 1,000 Accordions.
Oh, there you go. You're going to have to let me know if you're coming up north of the border and come have coffee in the garden.
I will. Look up the comedian Howard Dover. While you're there. He's out of Toronto and L.A.
We know who he is. I know good. Yeah, he's great.
I really, good human. Very good human.
Very good human.
That's cool.
He taught me that
There's another guy. Yeah.
He taught me that the vaporizer bag from the volcano, once used, is excellent to baste your turkey in on Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Wow.
That's a true story. That is true. It's the
Oh,
same
well,
plastic.
jeez.
It's the same polyester plastic.
Wow, you know what? That's a really good
Is some
idea.
marijuana wine or some weed whiskey. That would be,
Ooh.
You know what? Actually,
medically now, I'm talking about pure entertainment.
That's self-medicated.
I tried.
Primarily self-medicator.
I got last year a couple of sample bottles of Mary Jane's, and it's hemp wine.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had a red and I had a white, and we actually we tried it during our Passover dinner last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lovely, holy way to get in touch with the spirits.
There you go. It was.
Passover pass.
It passed over.
With an A+ if you have hemp wine. My goodness.
Yeah, we got to figure out something for those of us that don't partake. Imbibe, is that the word?
So, do we have promo for next week, Al?
No, not yet.
No. Oh,
No.
okay.
No, I have no idea what's going on. We'll be here.
I'll tell everyone to tune in. This has been fantastic, highly engaging, and I learned a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Folks, it's always a pleasure. And ladies, I will see you next week. Justin, feel free to call in anytime you want, my friend, and let us know if we can help with anything, getting the word out. Elizabeth,
Awesome, no problem.
Please let me know when you got dates and stuff like that. I'll get Jess to make sure she makes a mention during our event.
I sure will, and I'll send you a couple of cannabis experts that would really enjoy meeting you and being part of your program.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
That would be awesome.
Thank you.
And on that note, this is the 420 Radio Show. You can find us every day at 420 and a new live show Wednesdays at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be here next week. Good night, everybody. Or good afternoon.
John.
Enjoy your
Thank
snacks.
you so much.
Yeah, goodbye, John Boy.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
One time for all my people growing weed. Put their life on the line for what some people need. Running from the law over a fucking steed. Well, the law don't make any sense to me. Cause it's a plan, a gift given to me and you. If you don't like it, then outlaw every flower too. A gift given to me and you. If you don't like it, then outlaw every flower too. Yeah, cause that's exactly what it is. They've been lying to the parents, swear it's good for the kids. You need some proof, but just look what I did. Went from barely alive to teaching y'all how to live. Looking for the first hit, I was as bad as it gets. I'll be the first to admit I acted like a little bit. So to the one growing, that's a sativa. Thanks, one love, we see ya. I call it Killy, puff till I'm silly. Then call my dilly, scoop it silly. Twist up a really, maybe a Philly, I don't really be all that picky. Lunner is Ziggy, long as it's sticky, might even even burn a spliffy, but won't smoke another ciggy. Quit those ounces, try to flip those, but learn fast that selling grass like walk around to your tiptoes. Now why's it like that? Who knows? To be exact, check the polls. Less than 45% of America oppose. Cause it's a plant, a gift given to me and you. If you don't like it, then outlaw every flower too. Yeah, so to the one growing that in the cup, thanks, we need you. Time for all my people growing weed. Put their life on the line for what some people need. Running from the law over a fucking steed. Well, the law don't make any sense to me.
You like music, you like weed, well we gonna be good friends indeed. Cause there's not much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
What are you doing? Nothing. Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Good evening. I'm Coulter One-Kinder. I'm already into the 420, damn it.
You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace Re-Rolled Saturday.